1 minute to the deadline. Seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deadline.
All right, welcome everybody to our 6th virtual summer classic of diplomacy. I'm Ed Sullivan here, burnt orange and lovey blue. I've got Christopher Ward-Wardy from the UK. How's it going, Chris?
All right. Just stepping back into virtual after far too long away, so this is great.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. And then, of course, Adam Silverman, the incomparable Adam Silverman. How are you?
Great to see you, Ed.
And an unusual cast of characters here, rounding it out with Darcy Morris, who I don't see on this year's top board for unknown reasons since he plays every game of diplomacy I know. Welcome from Australia, where I don't even know. It must be like 5 a.m.
Yes, I had to get up at around 4 a.m. to start getting myself prepared for this. So hopefully I'll be able to sleep after this stream because it has been an early morning for me.
All right. Well, next time, comb your hair, and you should be playing if we wanted to sleep. I think these competitors will give us a good thing going. Because it's the rules of the Diplomacy Broadcast Network, we're going to talk about some upcoming events and what's on the calendar. Adam, I'm going to see you next week.
Heck yeah. DipCon, North American Diplomacy Convention in Denver, Colorado. Going to be a great one. I think they're looking at maybe close to 10 boards. I'm not sure exactly the numbers, but it's going to draw a lot of people, and it's going to be a fierce competition. Going to be great.
It will be great. Then we have the Boston Massacre after that, the Swiss Diplomacy Championship. And Wardy, since it's in the UK, I'm going to guess that you're going to be at the European Diplomacy Championship.
Oh, yes. I'm signed up. I'll be there, and I will win it. You heard it here first, kids. Yes. European Championship is in the UK this time around, and we are in Chesterfield, home to SpireCon.
All right, what city is that close to? Since Chesterfield apparently beyond what I know.
The whole UK is smaller than Texas, my friend. Everywhere's close to everywhere. You can get there easily from like Manchester and Birmingham and London, I guess.
All right, and then Weaselmoot in October. Great weather if you haven't been there. Carnage. For those of you who've not been to Vermont, it's wonderful. And then, of course, at the end, we have the Hexstecken Open. One other bit of publicity I would like to do, diplomacy-wise, is if you're on the Nexus server, the most exciting time of the year, which is the United Cup, 2nd edition. It's a team event where there are multiple gunboat press games in France versus Austria. You and 3 teammates, teams of 4, can compete against teams of 4 from all around the world in a variety of diplomacy-related events. It's run by King Red on the Nexus server. I'd encourage everyone to do that. But today is not about Nexus or the other diplomacy games. It's about the Summer Classic, which was the very, I think, first large virtual tournament. We've had 5 before, and just for those of you who don't know your history, let's see. Saren won the first one as Russia, and then Katie Gray won as Russia. Saren then won as Italy. Johnny Gillum won as Italy. So we went Russia, Russia, Italy, Italy. And then last year we had Mike as England. So knowing nothing, you'd kind of want to be England. If it goes Russia, Russia, Italy, Italy, England. But we shall put up the results of the first from the Summer Classic this year. We see the top 10. We had a little bit of a surprise. You can see Karthik and Nastya Styles tied on points, but Karthik was unable, for some ice cream related reason that no one quite understands, to play in the game. So Nastya, who had the same amount of points, became our 7th seed. So knowing nothing, about how they got here, McAllis was kind enough to give us some slides, and I thought we'd go through these one by one. For those of you, we broadcast the pregame interviews before this stream, but if you didn't see it, that's okay. We'll talk about that as we go into the players here a little bit. And we'll start with, well, we won't start with her. We'll start with Claire Bradbury, our number 1 seed. Okay. Does anyone want to talk about Claire?
I probably play with Claire at least once a week, as we're both members of the Australian National University Diplomacy Society. So I think I'm probably best placed to talk about Claire. Claire pretty much dominated this tournament in her usual style of coalition leader. It's her style of play, coalition, alliance building, and she really managed to perfect at this tournament into a first seed appearance. Notably, most of Nastya's points were found within an alliance with Claire, so you'd want to watch out for that on the top board. See if that connection is reignited there. But no, Claire dominated this tournament with tops in 2 different boards, and then pretty much just cruised along as a spectator in her final game. But it'll be Claire's first time in a decent Paris method selection position. She's been really, really wanting to finally get some control over her top board selection choices. So this will be an important one for Claire this time.
So she is the number 1 seed in Nexus. She picked France. We'll see what she does here. She was on a top board. I believe it was World Championship Virtual, and she picked Turkey. Turkey fell to her. How about that? And I think she's sort of the new Jamal, the Australian who has sort of great mind control over others, does different things. She wants you to know she's a really good alliance player. We'll see how that fits on the top board. And then we'll move to our next player, Stephen Hogue, Adam, winner of Whipping 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, Steven is a player that I know really well. I've gotten to know him since he really got involved in the diplomacy hobby, I would say, early in the COVID period. And, I think it took him a while to really kind of figure his game out. And then he had that big win at Whipping. And I think he's been just getting better and better and playing more consistently. He's really someone who is... He plays a very solid game, makes himself very easy to work with, and is just somebody who's solid and reliable. He's not a flashy player. He doesn't do fancy things very much, but he's just a solid player at this game. And he's, just been building more confidence and building more consistency. It's exciting to see him have such a strong result here. And he's somebody I'm going to be watching on this board because I think people are going to underestimate him.
Anyone can jump in. I found his pregame interview with McAllis to be delightful, talking about how he has no confidence in France, although he, I believe, did well in his last game there. But one thing about Stephen is in the early years of Stephen, and he's been playing virtually for a long time, a little bit of a pushover. If you just assaulted him verbally, he would kind of do what you, the other player, would want to do. Very much not that anymore. He sees what's in his interest and not in his interest, and a solid ally. I also liked how he said that he wanted to play next to Katie Gray, but only if Katie wanted to play next to him. And so he would put himself in a position for that to happen. We'll see if that works out or not. We can go to our next player here. Peter McNamara, known to all of us. The computer, but with a heart. Not really. Wardy, you want to talk about Peter? I'm sure you've played many times with him.
I've lost many times. Yeah, he's actually a really delightful guy away from the board as well. But even on the board, just very, very measured. He can be everyone's best friend. Oh, you're going through a bit of a tough time over there. Let me give you some advice, which has no strings attached and won't benefit me in any way. And yeah, he's great at that interpersonal stuff. Just sort of quiet and just calculating what he needs to happen strategically in the game.
Adam Darcy, that
reliable
is
player as well.
Yeah, that is such an insightful comment about Peter. He rarely asks you to do anything, but rather just tries to convince you to do things about others. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's just brilliant play by him.
Absolutely. I've played with Peter many, many times over the years, and I think that's a great description. Very non-confrontational, very calm and collected in the way he negotiates, and it never feels like he's trying to push anything on you. He's just, giving advice, and you do with it what you will.
Correct.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead, Darcy.
I think it's epitomized sort of his style of play in that Russia 12 center top game where he went all the way down to 3. I was keeping track along the game on my phone as it was playing out, and it very much seemed like he wasn't trying to demand the AT, please stop attacking me, but more probably seems like he was probably telling Austria, hey, you should probably have a look at Turkey and keep them in check, and doing the same for Turkey to Austria, and then manages to take advantage of that fight and really just dominates the latter half of that board. So it's also a warning shot to the rest of the top board. Peter may be on 2 centers, maybe on 3 centers, but Peter is not going to stop trying. He's not going to change his target to spite or just try and get a 6 center game. He will go for the win, even if he's down to 2 or 3. So you'll have to look out for Peter and make sure no matter what he's on. And
it's not just fluff. He's won 2 times DBNI, the toughest virtual tournament out there. He's been on multiple top boards, played Italy at Milan 3 years ago. The man knows how to move the pieces, and he's always counting dots. But enough about him. Darcy, I'm going to go back to you for another Australian, although, as Peter and I talked about in our pregame interview, Jason Gray doesn't play like other Australians.
Yes, so Jason's tournament was actually quite interesting because it didn't seem like he was really actually going to try in Summer Classic. It seemed like he was busy or he had other plans on the weekend. And then he grinds out a really solid England game. And then you're like, hold up, Jason Gray being on this top board is really going to spice things up in terms of player makeup and the way he plays. Jason plays a very polarizing style. It's almost quite the opposite of Claire's style, which is quite fascinating. As the two probably less experienced names in terms of Australian play regarding Peter McNamara, and Jason making the top board pretty much off of alliances and play with people that didn't play too much in Summer Classic means that he's an unknown quantity for this tournament with the other players who may have had alliances with each other. So it's really going to be interesting to see where he fits into the plans of people that have had these alliances already throughout the tournament. but no, Jason will take advantage and antagonize people in a way to make them make the wrong move, and then he'll take advantage of that, and he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. A bit like what Peter said. Peter said in terms of Jason plays similar to him. Jason will he will definitely make sure that he's looked every avenue of victory, and he's not going to care if it's clean or if it's dirty.
Well, one thing, Wardy, that I can say about Jason, I don't know how much you've played with him. I'm going to guess more than Adam. Is Jason is always, if you go to American sitcoms back in the 80s, there used to be an angel and a devil on your shoulder. He was always the devil on my shoulder every game I've ever played, whispering to me about the great stab that I have that I need to take. And on a top board, something like that can just be dangerous, because if he's in your head about what other people are doing and you make a bad move, he's going to be right there.
Yeah, there is that. It is, as Darcy said, that extra bit of sort of spice, sort of sprinkled on the top of this dish. I really hope he comes to a tournament that I also go to. We meet, because I find him so great to talk to. I'd love to have a beer with the guy. I mean, he was. I don't know if anyone watched League Night last night, but in yesterday's game we played together, I was in France, he was Italy, and he was just battering me all game, and we were having a good laugh and a joke about it. What the other six are going to have to watch in this game is, by his own admission, he is quite vengeful. So if he gets stabbed or disadvantaged in a way that he doesn't appreciate or respect, he's going to let you know about it, and he will, just as he did to Craig Meyer yesterday, just make sure that you don't get anything. I will give it to anyone else. So, I mean, he's going into to win this game himself, but if he can't, he will express his opinion on who should instead.
He's certainly not polarizing the diplomacy community by stabbing Craig Meyer. I assure you, we're all supportive of that. Adam, I know you know Katie Gray really well, our 2022 Summer Classic winner, our DipCon champion, everybody's friend, dangerous as every power, but particularly as Russia. Don't know if Katie Gray, fifth seed, will get Russia, but what do you have on thoughts of Katie?
Yeah, I mean, what is there to say about Katie that hasn't been said? I mean, Katie is just a phenomenal player. She is manages to put herself under the radar in almost every board she's on, yet she's probably the scariest player on most boards, maybe with the exception of Peter here, but she's at least as scary as Peter, frankly, from how she's been performing in the hobby lately. Yet she manages to keep herself low key. She manages to keep a profile that's just feels very friendly all the time. I mean, she's the kind of player who is two center. You're working with her, and she's already two centers above you. Yet you're convinced that it's a good idea to let her build three instead of you building one. Right? I mean, that's just the kind of player she is, and she's going to be a tough one on this board, I think.
I always say she's the player that I play the most like, but I wish I was as good as her. It's just a little bit more. Everything I do, she just does a little bit better, which is frustrating, but she's so damn nice, you accept it. All right. And now I'm throwing this over to Wardy or Darcy, jump ball, Maya Wild, who I've only seen in virtual this year, but an impressive effort coming in as our sixth seed. I don't know a thing about her, and I'm going to guess from her accent on her pregame interview, she's American. Does anyone know anything about Maya?
I've played a decent chunk of games with Maya. Shock to virtual lovers playing a lot of virtual are obviously going to meet each other. But no, Maya plays a pretty common standard style of play. Alliance focused, but willing to stab if necessary. Maya is someone that really connects well with players with a more calm and friendly, maybe non-tactically focused negotiation style. So I expect Maya to be more engaged with players like Claire, with Katie, less so of the Jason and Peter style of play. Maya did have a decent game with Steve. And it seems like Steve and Maya got on quite well, so I'd be looking at that. I do think that Maya is someone that is going to be a strong virtual presence in the coming months and years of virtual tournament play, because she's just playing everything, constantly getting better, and I really do think that the sky's the limit if she keeps on putting her mind to it.
I really liked in her pregame interview how she discussed that she wasn't nervous of anything, but she's used to the league format. This is really her first year in diplomacy, where it's not necessarily collaborative, but you can have these alliances that go a long time and get a good result. And she knows, I know it's different on the top board, and she's trying to figure out how that is going to go down. And then we go to our 7th seed, Nastia Stiles. I'll take a little bit of a lead. There are people who call themselves alliance players, like Ed Sullivan, Darcy Morris, even Claire Bradbury, and there are real alliance players. This is the most alliance.
We submitted a survey, and 100% of diplomacy players said that they were alliance players. So I don't know.
There is nobody I've ever played with who's an alliance player like Nastia. Her and Claire were extraordinarily tight at WDC on a board I was in. Like, I've never seen it before. It was like mind meld, where the two of them just worked together, and impervious to alternative thoughts that might be dripping from the poisoned mouth of Ed Sullivan. But really happy to see her here. Has been on the edges. Wardy, since I guess Darcy again. We're going to go to Darcy here to teach us. But if anyone has thoughts on Nastia, they've played with her, let us know.
I've only played. It was a blind press game with Nastia, and what I found it to be was just like very good at like communication and cooling tempers and trying to find common ground, and like seemingly going into negotiations with an open mind, which is difficult if you're that solid an alliance player to do, right? Because people need to believe that you are flexible enough to do it. That is the vibe that I got from her, and I've only played that one game. It'd be interesting to see how she fares in this one.
So I played a decent amount of games with Nastia. Again, on virtual. I've also been at the same tournaments as Nastia, so I have a decent chunk of experience with her. She is someone that literally everyone will want as the alliance partner, because she is the most trustworthy player I think I've ever played an alliance with. The one big thing in her game that I'm very interested to see is if she's willing to go that extra step that's necessary in the top board and push through on a stab when it's necessary to come out on top. It seems like it's almost against like her internal coding to stab. So it's going to be very interesting to see if, because it's her first top board, if she can fight her programming and find the stab, because I do not doubt that she will find an alliance partner, and it'll just be if she's willing to make the move necessary to put herself in a position to win.
So a couple things, and then I'm going to ask Adam to elaborate on something. But the first thing is her interview, which I commend to your viewing attention if you haven't seen it. She mentioned that she's really only used to playing an alliance style, and she knows the top board is different, but she's not going to change her style of play just because it's a top board, because she felt that would be a disaster. And her idea was to find an alliance partner and sort of hope for the best, that things may, be in a spot for her to win. But she sounded like she wanted to win. She understood the limitations of her style on a top board. But I think this is a good segue to one of the people who got me really interested in diplomacy, which is Adam from his 2016 top board. Watching that Chris Martin's video, which I've watched more times than anyone, I'm positive, on planet Earth, even the people who edited it. Talk to us about how a top board is different. And as we roll into the Paris selection in a few minutes, what is the Paris method and how do players think about going into it?
Yeah. I mean, a top board is a little bit of a microcosm, right? It's almost a game within a game, right? And I think it really does change the dynamic quite a bit when it's a winner-take-all type of game. And my experience with top boards, which is not every every top board plays a little bit differently, but top board games tend to be very cagey and very dynamic, and they tend to be much more balance of power and much more wait and see types of games than a normal game where an AIR might say, let's go kill Turkey out the gate, or an EF says, let's roll Germany off the gate. Those types of things, they do happen on top boards, but it's actually not a given like you might expect some of those types of things to happen in a real game. People usually hold their cards closer. They're waiting for somebody else to make a mistake rather than trying to initiate a move and risk reading something wrong and being the person who's going to get taken out. You really want to work and stay alive through the beginning so you can make your move later and you can set yourself up for success in the mid to late game. So that tends to be what I've seen on most top boards that I've played. And of course, I've also commented on probably more than I've played in. So that's kind of fun, and it creates some interesting dynamics. And since we're fortunate enough to have sideline reporters, we'll get to hear a lot about what's actually happening and not just be basing it off of the moves. To your second part about the Paris method, it's a little bit of another game within a game to select powers on the board. Basically, we'll start with the top 7, starting with power 7. People will get to choose where they want to pick their country in that reverse ranked order. So the person who's ranked first will have the final selection in terms of having the choice as to whether they want to pick first, second, third, or down to 7th. And then the players will pick their powers in that order. So there's a little bit of I'll call it strategy, though there's a high tendency to kind of overthink this rather than just taking the power you want. But it's always fun to watch.
Well, the earlier pick, you get the power that you probably most want. The lower you pick, you either get a player you'd like, or at the very low, you get a bonus in the tiebreaker. So if the score is tied at the end of the game, the person who picked least or lowest of the tiebreakers would win. So, and we've seen that come into play multiple times in our tournaments. I used to never think about it. Now I think about it quite a bit. And I know someone who does think about it is Peter McNamara, always looking at dots and what he needs next. So with that, we will roll into our Paris method and see how it shook out. And I would ask everyone to go on mute.
All right, everyone, we're here for our Paris method selection. Hopefully the DVN crew have just explained how this works to everyone. But we have Nastya in our 7th seed. So to kick us off, would you like to pick first or last, or technically both, Nastya?
I will pick first.
Brilliant. Maya, would you like to go before or after Nastya?
I'd like to go before.
Okay. Katie, where would you like to go?
I'll pick before Maya, please.
Cool. Jason.
I'd like to pick first, please.
There we go. Peter.
I'm going to pick ahead of Jason.
Alrighty. And Stephen?
Let's see. I'll pick before Peter.
Okay. I have done the wrong thing. Just wait a second. There we go. And Claire, where would you like to go?
I'd like to pick first.
Awesome. All right, on to country selection. Which country would you like to play, Claire? You can pick any of them.
Could I have La France?
Yes, you may. Stephen, which country would you like to play? Anything but France.
Turkey.
Alrighty. Peter, what would you like?
Did I hear correctly?
Anything but France and Turkey.
Italy.
Italy. Jason.
Let me think about this. This is not what I was expecting at all. Sorry, give me a second.
That's okay.
Austria, please.
Austria. Katie.
Russia, por favor. Thank you.
There we go. There we go. Maya. You have, I believe, Germany and England.
I guess I'll take England.
Okay. And Nasha, we have in Germany. That is our power selection for Summer Classic 2026. Good job, everyone. Any comments before we jump over and load you all into the game?
Stephen,
No comment. Good luck, everyone. Good luck. Let's have a good game.
What Peter
All right,
said.
there we go.
Isn't it?
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. We will swap over to that.
Okay, you guys can unmute yourselves. That was one of the most entertaining Paris methods that started off slow. I don't know what you want to comment about. Peter's kimono with a hoodie, him walking around, Turkey, Austria, Russia. I mean, this thing was crazy. Anyone jump ball? Wardy, what do you got?
Well, thank God for Stephen, first of all. I was ready to make chicken noises because everyone was just like being boring. But then turkey noises, gobble, gobble. Stephen, like really just throwing the cat amongst the, well, turkeys, I guess. And the other thing I think is worth commenting on is Three Girls in the West and the alliances from last weekend. Claire and Nastya clearly have worked together a fair bit in the tournament, and although I've not seen the games, I saw from McCollis's notes there that Maya stabbed Nastya in one of those games. I wonder if that is going to make England the odd one out here. I wonder.
Darcy, I know you like to piece the puzzles together. What happened?
I thought the most interesting part for me was all dependent actually on what Jason decided to do when Jason took Austria, because the Claire and Jason famously do not get along in terms of working in alliances together on any boards. I don't think I've ever seen them work together on a board successfully. So watching Jason pause and see if he takes England here or if he takes Germany, if he thinks he can get an ally, if Katie would be an ally or something later. And his decision to head into the East really opens up that West for a very tough decision for Claire, I think, because Claire's next to two people now that she really likes allying with and really gets along with. However, with an East that has players like Peter and Katie that know what to do to stop like a Western Triple Coalition sort of event from happening, means that it might give Claire a tough choice to make over having to fight one of her favored allies. So this is very interesting Paris method. And I think this really works in the favor of Katie, I think, the most, who gets Russia, has an East of players that I think she'd be comfortable being next to, and still gets to dip her toes in a West that could be a bit slow moving, as they might not want to fight each other in the West. So I think this is a good omen for Katie so far.
All right, Adam, thoughts? Unlike any Paris method I know you've covered on DBN.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's staying where they were is maybe less surprising than some of the orders of picking. And I mean, I'll say the piece that I think most of us here are thinking, and I could tell by the reactions in the Paris room that they were thinking, but may or may not be obvious to all the viewers. I think the biggest surprise was Steven coming out and picking Turkey second. And I think the reason for that is, Turkey on top boards is certainly a boom or bust country, but it tends to be bust a lot more than it's boom. Right. And you run the risk as Turkey of getting into a position early on that you can't recover from, versus most of the other countries. Even if you get attacked out of the gate, you often can figure out ways to get things moving later on. I personally think that if Steven intended to take Turkey from the beginning, which he had to know Claire was most likely going to take France, he probably could have benefited himself by dropping in the rankings, because it was not likely to get taken in the top 4 or 5. I wouldn't have necessarily gone all the way to the bottom, but he probably could have dropped after Jason or after Katie and still had a very high likelihood of being able to get Turkey and then having a better tiebreaker position. But maybe he wanted to pick it early and see where people picked around him. But, with Peter picking next as Italy, I don't think he could have been very happy about that, right? Jason picking Austria obviously is also really interesting, knowing that he maybe doesn't get along with Claire based on Darcy's comments. He still had the choice of Austria or Russia, and picking Austria right after Peter's Italy means he's very confident in his ability to negotiate with Peter and not get himself, jumped on straight out of the gate. So this is going to be fascinating. Frankly, if I'm picking 6th or 7th and I have the choices of playing in the West, I'm thrilled. Like, I think this is a great draw for Maya and Nastia to be able to get those Western powers where they're really going to have some options early in the game. So I think they really are the winners here.
A couple of things, which is, one, we know from Peter, DB, and I, first championship, that when he plays Italy, he does not like to go west. That's good news for Claire, probably, although every game is different. Second, you're 100% right on Stephen Hogue not thinking about win equity. He could have picked Turkey much lower than he did. But if you followed our pregame interviews, he said he picked countries by random generator. Maybe he did that here. That would be insane if he did it. You should have still dropped and picked by random generator, Stephen, if you wanted to do that. But, hey, it may work out. You never know. Okay, well, we are going to get to the reason why we are all here.
I mean, just while we're waiting, I think I actually don't necessarily hate Stephen picking Turkey second, because I think it sets a mood and a tone for the rest of the Paris in terms of, okay, Stephen's in Turkey. It's not one of Nastya or Wild, most likely, and it changes the outlook for Peter, for Katie, and for Jason in terms of, okay, maybe this changes what I'm thinking. I think if anyone was not going to get aired as Turkey, I'd probably pick Steven to be the one that doesn't get aired. So I don't hate it. Picking if anyone was to do it, I don't hate it the most for Steven.
You don't hate it the most, but you still hate it. Okay, I got it. Message understood. Look, it's one game. It's the three of y'all. I'll try and shut up. Anyone can leave at any time. How about that? But I don't want anyone to lose the flow of the game if they don't want to. And so we'll start with Spring 1901. Our lead analyst is technically Adam. Adam, what do we see?
Okay, we see in the West, we see England making the Churchill opening, going up to Edinburgh. Lots of confidence about France not going to the Channel, and indeed France doesn't and goes to Burgundy instead. Germany making fairly standard moves, going up to Denmark and pushing the armies out towards the Low Countries. We see Peter making what I would consider fairly standard moves is Italy, though people always like to flag that Venice to Tyrolia move. I think it's a really strong play for Peter to be up there and have plenty of people to talk about. We've got bounces in Galicia and the Black Sea and otherwise pretty standard stuff in Turkey and Russia. Old school Turkey opening with Smyrna the Khan there. I like Steven doing this. It's basically saying to Katie, we can work together, but I'm not giving you the Black Sea. That's mine, and I want to have the flexibility of being there.
Darcy or Wardy, any comments? I'm looking at Burgundy. I'm looking at that Smyrna to Khan and Venice to Tyrolia, or anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, every single game without fail when I'm Russia, the first thing I'm asking every time is, can you please leave Con open to move your fleet out in fall? Because I really, really hate when Turkey's fleet gets trapped in Ankara. I think it's just inherently anti-Russian in terms of being able to actually push forward in a successful sort of juggernaut position if you want to work with Russia. It's great if you're working with Austria or something, but yeah, I really hate the old-fashioned opening for that reason. So I think if it was me in Russia, I would be a little bit concerned about that. I'd think maybe Peter or Jason have the upper hand there.
This is great because I'm going to give a hard disagreement with what Darcy just said. And this is one of the awesome things about this game is that there can be so many different philosophies around this. I'm going to argue that Turkey having a fleet in the Black Sea early in the game is a boon to a juggernaut. It's actually better for the RT because it gives Turkey that anchor point to be able to use Bulgaria as a leverage piece while still supporting the army from Khan back out to Bulgaria to beleaguer it. So it allows Bulgaria now to be a mover, to cut Serbia, to take support from Serbia without Turkey putting themselves at risk from either a stab by Russia or from Austria doing something, moving in a way they don't like. So I actually think it's a really important piece that can be very helpful and allow the RT to move forward in a way that's positive, not only for Russia, but also for Turkey.
I don't know. I see this as pro-Italian and anti-Austrian and kind of neutral on Russia. I don't know. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see where it goes because, like, the only dots you can take with armies are those Balkan ones, but you can only put down one fleet. But there's so unlikely to be a strong air coming after you in a top board. I would say it's probably worth the risk from Steven. Yeah, I don't know how Nash will feel about armies in Burgundy and Tyrolia, but I wouldn't have thought Peter's going to get involved. That might help make a resolution occur too quickly in the West.
I will say that Stephen did say this, which makes sense. And of course, he said he wanted to work next to Katie if Katie wanted to be next to him, and she did. So maybe, Darcy, it's not anti-Russian here. We're going to move to the fall of 01. And by the way, on the old school Turkish opening, no less a player than Tanya Gill says she doesn't understand why Turkey would do anything else. I agree that the flexibility is not what it is, but there are its proponents. We will see if it works out for Steven. Again with the joke order square. Okay. All right. Darcy, what do we got?
Another bounce in Black Sea, which was what I was first drawn to. Rum is not challenged, so that's good news for Katie, as Katie gets to take Rum. Elsewhere, Jason takes Greece, covers Trieste, but Peter sneakily moves into Vienna and moves into Venice. So early Austria, Italy fighting here. And Jason losing out in the early battles. Crucially, Katie did not jump into Galicia, so that doesn't mean it doesn't spell the end for Jason in terms of alliance opportunities, but early doors trouble for Jason. In the West, we see, what I was a little bit scared of when I saw all three of those in the West. We see Germany going +3. We see convoy into Norway, and it looks very Western Triply, which again,
Wardy has facing Australians against the Western Triple. Do you agree with Darcy?
I think it might be. It does look quite Tripoli. That's very bold of Nastya there to not cover Munich or supporters of the Holland to walk into. That could have gone horrendously.
To Nastya's credit, I think. There's so little chance that Claire is moving into Munich here. It's just not the way she plays.
Yeah. Diplomatically read sound. Yeah, I'm not saying it was a bad move at all, but I'm just pointing out there was a huge risk there to doing that in terms of the result if it went that way rather than the likelihood.
Yes, true.
It's hard to view the Western moves as anything other than a triple. If to the points that were just made, Nastya doesn't cover Munich, gets support into Belgium, so they're giving Germany 3, which is what you normally do when you're doing a Western triple. The only piece that does not fit this is the Denmark hold. Right? Because if you're doing a Western triple, you want that bounce in Sweden to slow down the Russian momentum. In fact, England usually demands that in order to make these moves.
Couldn't agree with you
in
more.
A triple though, sorry, I beg your pardon there. Yeah,
No,
I was
go
just going to say, would you not? You don't need the support on Ruhr to Belgium if you know France isn't going there. So you would convoy with north to Norway
and go to Barents.
Move Norwegian up to Barents. That's the only thing in my head which says it might not be, but it's not necessarily a fight in the east either with AI that could be arranged. That would certainly throw off the scent of R&T, I guess. But it's fun. This is fun already.
Yeah, and to what Karthik's saying, yeah, you could have seen Mao to Spain South Coast. There's more aggressive Tripoli moves, but this is still a top board. So, it looks Western Tripoli and just a little bit of everybody doing a little trust but verify before going all out into it.
It isn't all out, but I think we've neglected a little bit Peter's move to Vienna.
No, Peter's move to Vienna is fascinating.
Someone want to talk about that, especially in light of the Western Triple, right? Maybe it's a great move without it. Maybe there's not a Western Triple.
If you are giving a dot to Italy as Austria by agreement, Vienna's better than Trieste because what Italian armies do is sit there in Trieste for 4 years. At least there you can push them into Galicia and put them down to Romania, something like
that. It's hard to imagine with this moveset that's agreed, though, right? With Apulia going back.
I'm not convinced, but it could be.
and Jason covering Trieste, you kind of get the feeling that maybe a different order set was expected.
Yeah, and Jason gets a little lucky here, don't you think? With maybe not lucky, but Warsaw not going to Galicia. It's not a disaster for him. Katie's certainly preserving her options, don't you think, Darcy?
Yeah. I think as I was saying prior to the board actually starting, if there is a Western Triple, you have players like Katie and Peter in Russia and Italy who I expect to immediately respond in against what seemingly looks like a Western triple so far through builds. And I think Katie not going in on the Austria stuff could be also just a little bit of a preservation of not sure if Turkey is on my side yet. So I don't want to burn the bridge with Austria if I'm also burning a bridge with Turkey already. And it means that Katie can now most likely focus Warsaw on on the West and reacting to that, which I expect to see in the following year. However, there could now be a quick dismantling of Jason so that there's only 3 players left in the East, as so that they can focus fully on the West.
Yeah, if it is a Western triple, then actually the positions in the East could lend itself to a wrap quite nicely.
Okay. Does anyone want to talk about builds? I'm most interested in St. Petersburg here to see what Katie builds.
I don't think you build a fleet here, right? Because you're not.
I don't think you do either.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get it out. So I think an army is going to be much more flexible for you. So I'm expecting 2 armies for Katie.
Yeah, 2 armies is most likely.
Maybe South Coast. You don't know. Okay, and then imagine a fleet from Smyrna, army in Budapest. 2 armies or 2 fleets for Germany is going to be the question, and maybe a fleet and army from France. So does anyone have any thoughts?
I think Claire will put 2. I think Claire will put 2 fleets down. I think it would have been talked about already with Wild if there is a Western triple, which is what I'm sort of predicating my build predictions on. And yeah, I mean, it'll be 2 fleets from Peter most likely. And I expect 2 armies and a fleet from Nastya, potentially even 3 armies. Most likely.
I hope it's not 3 armies.
Oof.
Okay.
Yep. No surprises.
Yep. Yeah, I think the army in London is the only one that is a little surprising. I mean, it makes sense in a Western triple. It also makes sense to deter France, but given the army builds by Russia, it might be hard to get there. All right. So to elucidate further on what we've seen, we are again lucky enough to have sideline report. So we will go to our 1901. Will we? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All right.
All right, everyone. We are doing the sideline for the Summer Classic top board. This is for 01. I think 01 was pretty much dominated by talks of a Western triple and a messy East. I think the Paris method really threw everyone off with Stephen picking Turkey second. There were a lot of complaints about that. I think Peter and Jason even spoke about punishing Stephen for it, but how they're going to do that might be interesting because there were a lot of talks in the West about Western tripling. I think Maya was even saying the West is all girly. We have to do it. We got to do it. You know, be whimsical with me. And that pitch was to Nastya and Claire.
Yep.
What did you pick up, Karthik?
Yeah, so definitely a lot was revolving around the questions of whether the West with Western triple, if they had to do an AIR in response to it, if they had to do an AIR in response to Turkey being picked second in Paris method, which has not happened in many years in either face-to-face or in virtual, to my knowledge. And the conversations after starting off there started to go into, like, I think, more serious topics. Peter started to talk to Katie about potentially being able to flip Maya, viewing them as probably the most flippable person there. And then Katie said that she doesn't want to see anyone sort of be ganged up on very quickly or united against in a top board. She kind of wants to see people live into the mid game until she can sort of decide what she wants to do. Katie and Peter eventually ended the conversation saying that they were not going to decide on whether they should AIR until 1902, but regardless, they would do a wintergreen. Nasha and Maya talked very, very frequently about how much they wanted to work together, but Claire, I think, is sort of the sticking point on whether or not the Western Triple will happen. And I don't think Claire particularly wants one on a top board.
Yeah, I was definitely getting that vibe as well. It seems like the West is very happy to work together and sort of have a fun game, but Claire doesn't want to go along with just working with that since she and Nastya have worked together a lot in previous games. I think the RI is pretty solid, depending however the East plays out. I think they'll be pretty good from what I heard. The moves to Burgundy, I think everyone in the East said they, well, Claire was saying that that is potential tension with Germany, and I don't think anyone was buying that.
Yeah, I don't think he'll buy that for a second.
No, yeah. Peter and Jason were talking about the potential for Claire getting a Munich loan for a fast-moving Western Triple, but Peter said he didn't feel the West was sophisticated enough to pull it off. So
Correct.
we will see how that plays out in the fall.
I'm very excited to see that because you and I were both talking about that being a potential the second we saw the Burgundy move, and given the conversation that they had prior, but let's see if Peter's correct.
That's it. I think in the fall, in the fall, Claire did seem more worried about a strong EG because she was resisting that Western Triple moveset. But yeah, we'll have to see. Another thing I'm interested in seeing is Katie and Peter talking about Peter going for Vienna rather than Trieste because Jason had seemed hesitant to give him Trieste. So
correct. And in response to sort of Claire being worried about EG and declining the Western Triple, she may create a strong EG out of it. Maya expressed her frustrations that Claire was committed to just holding the line as France, not going into Germany, not going south, or really not doing much of anything. She was going to sit there and stay there. And when Maya heard of that, I think she went to Nasha and was just like, this Western Triple is going to implode. Eventually, we should be the ones working together when it does implode. I think Maya put about a year timeline on its implosion. So curious to see what happens there if Claire's unwilling to go south.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get back to it and see what happened with the board.
Perfect.
So interesting sideline report. I'll just start out with saying Karthik was unavailable for the game, but apparently available to be our sideline reporter. Okay. Fine. Thank you, Karthik. You didn't have to pick Turkey. As you can see, Stephen would have picked it for you. You had another chance. All right, but interesting. First of all, thank you to our sideline reporters, Brandon for running the Paris method, and for the sideline reporters. The unsung heroes of top board coverage are the sideline reporters. So thanks for doing that. One other thing I neglected to mention is this game will end by hell or high water at the end of 1910. So we are 1/10 of the way through. Adam, did you gather anything from the sideline report?
Well, it's fascinating in the East to hear, on one hand, Katie is saying, I don't want anybody to die quickly. I want to wait before making my move. And then later to hear she's talking with Peter and, that move to Vienna was something that the two of them talked about, right? So that's a little bit at odds with each other, and not necessarily towards this idea of I don't want to jump in something. So I'm going to be watching for her to at least be thinking about jumping in on that Austrian action, though the Western Triple may delay that substantially. Otherwise, I think the reaction that Peter had to his choice of Turkey is fascinating. And maybe that's what he was. I mean, I don't think he was looking for people to punish him for picking Turkey second, but it really maybe did have this dynamic change of how people are thinking about the board. So maybe mission was accomplished.
All right. We are going to move forward to 1902. And Wardy, what do we got?
Okay. Oh, a reprieve for Jason Gray, it seems, who is helped by Russia into Bulgaria. Meanwhile, Italy is going west, even with his army in Vienna. They're seeing Western Triple and are reacting to it not as a rout, it seems, but as an AIR, he says, looking at Warsaw dropping down into Galicia. We'll find out what's that about. Maybe they're going to try and push Jason into Stephen and just wintergreen it. We'll see what happens there. Claire, moving fleets. I mean, Portugal could have gone to Spain. Marseille could have gone to Lyon. She's going the other way. She's going to regret that, having seen the Italian fleets coming her way. Meanwhile, England tries to get a second army up into Norway, but is bounced out of Finland. It's a good read by Katie there.
I'm going to just say how amazing a turn for Katie this was, because there's no longer a Western Triple, right? This is now an attack on England. And the reason, at least I believe that's probably the case, is Denmark to Skag, right? This is not how you attack Sweden as Germany. This is not how you play a Western Triple. This is how you play if you're working with Russia against the English. And the French moves, I think, certainly are supporting this, right? Because there's no way France makes these moves in a Western Triple. So I think this is a huge win to Katie. And she marches into Galicia, giving herself great position in the south. And Steve Hogue is still desperate for an ally. I mean, she's just got everything going for her.
Pretty lucky here, Darcy. I don't know if it's lucky or intent. We can go either way, but the English moves are, well, they're not strange. Norway going to Finland, but Norwegian not going to Barents in a Western Triple. So if there is this attack, England's not in the absolute worst position here, keeping the army in London, having a fleet nearby. It could be a lot worse for poor Wild here. What do you think?
I mean, I think off of what we heard in the commentary, the sideline commentary, Wild did the crucial mistake, seemingly, of trying to get Nastya to early doors go against Claire, which by saying she was frustrated at the lack of aggressive commitment. And I think Wild may have just misread the sort of style of play that Claire and Nastya like. So I think Wild, it's not terminal for Wild at all. Especially with Peter and Katie, will definitely want to be slowing down any Western alliance when they seem to have complete control over the Eastern dynamics, with Austria and Turkey now seemingly fighting. So I think this is great news for Italy and Russia. I think it's good news for Claire in terms of Wild wasn't able to swing Nastya around on side seemingly. And I mean, do I really blame Claire for not wanting to be a France going into a Western Triple against Peter McNamara to build Italy? Like, I think that sounds like a pretty miserable experience for literally any diplomacy player. So I think this is a great turn for Claire. I think this is a great turn for Katie, and I think this is a great turn for Peter.
Okay. One comment I'd like to make is on Nastya's thing here, that this is why she went to Skagerrak in Denmark. And as someone who tries this move all the time, I can tell you England usually, no matter what they told you, doesn't take it as more flexible. England wants to see that fleet in Baltic. They do not want to see this. They can see that it is you. But if it's a part of an overall deception, maybe it works. But,
it's just tactically terrible if you're going to attack Russia, right? Because then Russia can retreat into the Baltic Sea, and now you're covering three dots at that point, 4 dots at that point, right? So, I mean, it's I mean, it could be. It's something you can do, but if I'm England in that position, I'm really skeptical.
I mean, what
Not-
do you
not
do
if-
here as
Sorry, you
Germany?
go.
Because France is going to have to bail out on this attack on England if that's what they're lining up to do. Because now she's got Italian fleets to deal with. I mean, yeah, they
I'm
could
not
all
so
suddenly
sure
go
about that.
east, but
Yeah.
Peter may turn around.
I'm not sure Peter's fleets are coming. I mean, Claire's going to have to be the judge of that, but she may not get a second fleet. She may just have Peter hanging out in the west and then Ionian going to Eastern Med, a Tyrrhenian Ionian or something like that right now. You know, I would be surprised if West pulls back, but, you know, I'm not convinced he's going to send that second fleet or go to Piedmont or anything like that.
I mean, the other issue with the Skagerrak move is you are guaranteed to get Sweden pretty much anyway in fall if you move to Baltic. Trying to convey any deception or trying to create any flexibility, if you're saying you're in a Western Triple and then you're moving to Skagerrak like this, it would just leave me so frustrated at you that, I mean, I'd be looking at other avenues of okay, how do I make this work with someone else? Because I just think it's burning too much of a bridge in Spring 02 that wasn't necessary. Even especially if you go through with taking Sweden, it's fine if you end up trying to go for North Sea, sure, but if you are going for Sweden, then this is just a bad play.
Okay, this was a horrible event. I've just lost Dipcast. So now we're going. You guys,
can we make
chat.
up the?
You guys,
that's all right. Well, I mean, I think one other interesting thing to think about from this position is, you know, thinking about Steven, right, who just lost Bulgaria, maybe still has some hope to get Katie on side, right? And I think there's questions about how you navigate that, right? Especially if Katie is being truthful when she says she doesn't want to see anybody taken out of the game early. Well, Steven's sitting down at 3. Is there a world where he's satisfied? I'm going to try to just sit at 3 for a while and see if the game opens up for me.
Yeah, I don't think Steven hates being on 3 here. I think it's fine, especially if he's in Aegean still, and he's still bouncing Black Sea. I think he can just be bouncing Black Sea for a while and be in Con and Aegean, and I think he's quite happy to do that. I think there is a very short timeline before Jason is probably attacked by Italy and Russia, and you just have to wait that out a little bit and then be used perhaps as a pawn by one of Italy or Russia against the other. If you did look at Steven's game as Russia to Peter's Italy in the last weekend's games, he was definitely the second in command in that relationship, and managed to get to a 8 center, 7 center position through working with Peter. And I think in a game where people aren't just going to let Peter dominate, or if it's Katie, let them dominate on the other side of the board, you could rely on a bit of pressure coming onto one of the others, and then you can take control of the East that way. So I think Stevens played this position in last weekend. It's Turkey. He picked Turkey early on purpose. I think it's not too early to call it quits. I think he'll be fine.
But it could crumble very quickly if he loses Eastern Med or Italy and Austria, kick him out of Aegean, right? That can get very bad very quickly, I would say, unless then Katie decides I'm going to prop him up to slow those guys down.
I mean, if you are Peter or Katie, do you want Steven to disappear off the board? Because he could actually be quite a good balance against the other guy, you know? Otherwise, you are fully backing yourself tactically in scenario that you don't know how it's going to pan out yet against the other, and they're both pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point, though. On the other hand, what does Peter do with his fleets? Is he going to go hard west with Stephen behind him, or is he going to go and try to mend some fences with Jason to take out Stephen at this point? I think the latter is more likely, but I don't know.
I mean, the other person we have to talk about is we haven't talked too much about Jason, who managed to turn around Peter. Peter moved out of Vienna to Tyrolia, and there's also Germany has just ended Bohemia, right? Which means Germany could very well be interested in supporting Jason back into Vienna. And if Jason can get that, on top of not losing anything to Russia, who's now in Galicia. They'll be looking at a +2 out of potentially Bulgaria and Vienna. And Jason's very much back in a position where it's not so easy for Italy and Russia to dominate the East. And perhaps Italy or Russia has to look at Austria as their main alliance partner, potentially if that comes to fruition. But I think Jason can, if he can stick the landing in this fall turn, I think Jason will be back comfortable in a decent position.
I'll say if Jason manages to hold on, manages to retake Vienna, hold everything else, and leave Budapest and Trieste open in his position, that would be one of the most incredible coups I have ever seen in diplomacy.
No, I think it's more likely he has one in pocket if he does keep
for sure, Darcy. But man,
I apologize here. Dipcast keeps crashing. It's a serious error. Will not load on my screen anymore. I've asked Brian for help, so Brian is on the rescue. You guys keep talking, but there we are.
Well, I'd like to pose, if you think if we're talking about what Peter might do next, is it not worth just ploughing into France and keeping England as what appears to be an anti-Russian power on the board, giving Katie problems where you don't have that problem? So that if it is going to be a race towards the end of the game between Peter and Katie, if that's what each of them are lining up, then it's not the worst idea to actually give England a bit of a free ride, or as free as you can, peel France off.
Yeah. The other part of this is, if you're not fighting Turkey here, you can just keep one fleet in Ionian, keep 2 fleets on the France front, and then it's frustrating Claire in terms of what Claire can actually do with her units. And makes it much harder for her to mount an attack on England or to take a dominant role in the relationship with Nastya either. So I think Peter could quite happily tell Claire, yeah, I know it sucks that I'm in Lyon and West Med, but I mean, I'm not going to move away. I don't need to. I'm quite happy using the other 3 units, especially if Katie's helping against Austria. You just can keep the other 3 units fighting Austria and be quite happy with it.
For crying out loud.
Oh, spoiler alert. Yeah, I think we're ready though.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we're ready. Okay, please stop doing this, Claire. It's really, I know it's fun for you, but not for us.
Go back one.
Look, we're going to get what we get.
Oh, God.
Okay, fall 1902. All right, comments. I don't even know who's up. Adam, just go to you.
Sure thing. Yeah, so England does get booted out of the North Sea. Claire does nothing. Peter doesn't do a whole lot either, though. Oh, he goes to Aegean, actually. That is a pretty substantial move. But Peter's going to have a disband coming because of Vienna. I'm a bit surprised that Peter didn't just send one into Vienna to try to hold it, and that instead they just gave it to Russia. But I guess it's an AIR at this point, and this is, I guess, all agreed. It's agreed stuff. Stephen, interestingly, disbands Aegean. I guess the thinking there must be that he would retreat it to Smyrna, so now he can put an army down if he wants to. Though I imagine he'll rebuild a fleet. But I think most interesting will be to see what Peter disbands, because now if he disbands an army, he's a little vulnerable, and if he disbands a fleet, and has nothing in the Ionian, he's a lot vulnerable. So that'll be interesting. I don't know. I also don't know about Nastia just pulling everything back up like that. It feels like momentum loss. I don't know.
I wondered if there was going to be some RG cooperation in Austria area, but apparently not. She was not required. Thank you very much. Go back from whence you came. It wouldn't have helped save North Sea, but England has been sold an absolute pup here by Germany. In what world are you getting supported into Norway when she's got 2 fleets on Sweden? What is the other fleet doing? So that is, I mean, disappointing. But
yeah, the other thing that I'd like to point out is I know Claire loves to slow play, and everything, but if there'd been a bit more of a bolder move this turn, to join Nastya in what was almost definitely going to be a fight against England, she has an open Liverpool, that she would have been able to walk into.
If Claire's in Irish Sea or North Atlantic, North Sea is going to disband and get rebuilt, right?
I mean,
I kind of feel it should have done anyway, because she still could walk into Liverpool, because is London going to walk out with?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Germany and North Sea?
now you've got to guess. You're probably London now can go to Wales or Yorkshire or something, but yeah, there's a whole lot of guesses now that are really, really unfortunate. Norwegian can go to Clyde, or there's things you can do here, but it creates a lot more guesses than if you rebuilt it.
And yeah, I mean, it's just like, where is Claire's next build or next move coming if it's not moving up against England, right? Peter's going to know that, and Peter can now try and neuter that potentially if it's now a bit more obvious that there's an FG fight, or at least England on the back foot. It means that I know Claire loves a slow play, but it just makes it a little bit more difficult to maintain a healthy progression of dots. But yeah, I mean, again, I understand it. He's in Western Med. You don't want to necessarily leave Spain with the fleet just yet. So it's not the worst. It's just potentially a little bit better than just all holds.
Yeah. And I will point out that Nastia did go to English Channel, like we were talking. North Sea, like we were talking about. I mean, that is an anti-English move from Germany going to Skagerrak, no matter how it was sold by Nastia. And clearly, Wild thought she was getting into Sweden here, which explains that. So, but I think Claire has options. We'll go to winter.
I mean, what does Peter pull here?
Probably
Tyrolia.
Sorry, it just went to this, but there you go. You can see Peter pulls Tyrolia, and we have an army build in Moscow. And a fleet in Smyrna. Adam, you're right.
Yeah.
Part of me thought an army might make sense to induce Peter to maybe attack Austria, but it doesn't seem.
You're so undefensible. I mean, you can't even make guesses if you don't have a fleet, right?
Yeah.
But it's not all bad, right? Because now they can't get into Eastern Med in the spring because Peter's not an Ionian, right? So just Smyrna bouncing Aegean guarantees that he won't have fleets both in Eastern Med and Aegean right away.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to our sideline. This is where it all went kaput the last time, but we'll.
All right, everyone, we're here at the end of 02. What did you pick up straight out of the gate, Karthik?
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about in the beginning, there's a lot of frustration over, is it a Western triple? Is it not a Western triple? As you touched on at the end, no one's believing this whole, hey guys, I'm in Burgundy. Oh, this is totally going to be not a Western triple. Some of the moves that Claire made are actually potentially a little bit more anti-Western triple than some would expect. But then with Peter's move to Western and Tyrrhenian, Claire hops in a call with Peter immediately. And I think that's like the most interesting call of the entire season, where she just like vents her frustrations, like, hey, I'm moving in this direction, but like, what are your fleets doing? I feel frozen. I don't know if I can do what I want to here. And how you want me to react? And Peter says, like, kind of calmly, like, hey, I'm not like, coming after you. I couldn't do anything against you even if I wanted to with these like, fleets. I'm just like, trying to make sure things are going the way that I want to and I can negotiate about it. Claire's frustrated by it, but eventually accepts it. And basically Peter says, like, say, like, yeah, I gotta play with Peter McNamara. Um, and in the South, though, in the East, rather, there's a lot of discussions among the AAR about how to handle Turkey, if they should go to the Aegean, if someone should go to the Aegean, if someone will get put into Greece or not, if someone will get Vienna, if it will stay Italian, if someone will get Bohemia. Basically, none of them can agree on tactics at all. And this becomes a huge problem for them, basically, on what to do strategically, and no one can seem to come to an agreement. There is a lot of back and forth chatter in the north about potentially, like, moving up to Skagerrak versus the Baltic, and Nasha really tries to convince England that, hey, you should let me go into Skagerrak rather than Baltic, so I can keep plausible deniability up with Russia, and then from there we can kind of go and do our own thing, and life would be great. And yeah, that's basically spring 1901. Sorry, 1902 in a nutshell.
Yeah, definitely. Like, from another perspective, from the other people that I listened to, there in spring there were a lot of chats, but they all seemed a little messy. They didn't really go anywhere beyond these key points, and it was sort of the same in fall as well. I think there was a point where Katie and Jason were talking, and Jason's just offering a lot to Katie, and he's offering a lot to Peter as well. He just wants to have a friend. He just wants something to work out of the three of them. And I think Katie mentions that to Claire as well. Goes, yeah, Jason's fine with me being in Galicia. He's offering me Bulgaria, and just saying Jason's pitching a lot of things that are very pro her and seem to be anti-Jason. Claire finds very interesting, and then goes to report that back to the West to try and figure out something there, because Claire is starting to feel a little stuck with that position over there, I think. I didn't actually get to catch many conversations with Stephen in Turkey, but I think the 6 powers on the board that are essentially in 2 triples are sort of making it almost irrelevant what Stephen's doing. But I think a little bit of tension in the West might lead to some action, possibly between Russia, Austria, and Turkey figuring something out. So I think Peter has a very decent amount of control on this game, and there's a lot of people that are sort of freaking out or panicking. So
yeah. Stephen's definitely suffering a little bit because everyone's talking about the Western Triple, and if they should respond to the Western Triple, which kind of leaves Turkey just being like, well, what do I say now?
Yeah, that's it.
So to his credit, he was making good pitches. He is arguing, saying, like, hey, like, if I can cut Bulgaria, I can give you Greece, you can give me Greece, I can build only armies if you like, making some pitches that, like, could be, like, persuasive to Peter, and it's interesting to see if it will be accepted or not.
Yeah, that's it. All right, well, I think their fall has adjudicated and they should be through with builds, so I'll be interested to see how it turns out. I'm not sure if Peter's going to be happy with this year. There was a bit of talk of people taking Vienna from him, and that's going to make him lose a bit of a grip on whatever's happening around Claire as well. So it'll be funny to see how this all turns out, but we'll leave it here and get back to the board.
Perfect.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right, we lost
Loud
them
and
at the
clear.
end. And we have even more problems, which is we've lost Dipcast again. I'm going to need to do it old school. Someone on this stream needs to send me a link to the game. So I'll share the game through Backstabber because Dipcast is down. In the meantime, while that's happening, apologies, really. I mean, a lot of tech issues are my fault. I don't think this one is. Nevertheless, why don't you guys comment on what we've seen on that? Give me a second to get the Dipcast.
One thing that was
Backstabber.
really fascinating to me is not really about any of the specific negotiations, but more about the mood of the board. And the mood, it sounds like there's a lot of this general feel that Peter is pulling the strings and Peter's sort of orchestrating a lot. And that makes me wonder, like, if that's the feeling amongst people on the board, if that's going to play hugely to Katie's advantage, maybe to some extent to Claire's. What do you guys think?
I think there would be a lot of Claire can be quite vocal in terms of their frustrations around on the board, and at the moment it seems like there's not really any frustrations in her relationship with England or Germany because she's doing nothing against either of them. So all of her frustration is focused on just Peter, and on the other side of the board, a lot of Stephen's frustrations could also be based around Peter not following through on an attack on Austria because of the Western Triple. So it seems like you've probably got two players who are very frustrated at Peter, and whether or not it's actually true that the board feels he's dictating it, but his what he's doing at the moment on the board is just very provocative against Turkey and France, and I think that's probably what he wants, actually, because Claire's very good, and if you can block Claire from doing anything, and there's infighting between England and Germany, the West is going nowhere. Peter's quite happy to keep that up, and then still be part of an air on the other side of the board. So I think.
But how do you stop Katie from winning the game if that's what you're doing, especially when you're also attacking Stephen, who's really the only one who's going to be in a position to stop that, right? If there's fighting in the north and you're holding back.
You need England.
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to feed into that, because if you read the comments currently, Nastya's talking about her biggest reason for going to North was that she wanted Katie to walk away. Katie then responds, walk away from what, right? So Katie has no armies actually near Nastya, but Katie's, I guess, mere presence on the board, and the fact that she's got a decent position where no one's really attacking her, is a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So you've got a German player who's actively moving in a way to diplomatically please Katie, and then you've got Peter on the other side of the board frustrating two others. So I think at the moment this is all going trumps for Katie. It's Katie Gray. Most of the time it goes well for Katie. So it's just going to be whether or not that changes in the next few years.
There might be a lesson here in perception management to a degree. I mean, in perhaps this loose talk about shall we triple? If the other side believes that, even if there's no truth in it, then you're encouraging them to find some sort of resolution before you yourself are ready. And I think that this is what has caught the West. I mean, Claire sounds like she wanted nothing to do with it from the start. But once that sort of leaks and that kernel is sort of planted in the minds of those on the other side of the board, they're going to react to it even if it doesn't exist. And if it doesn't exist, then you're kind of in trouble. So it seems like the East have their shit together, and the West very much do not at this point.
And I imagine that Peter's a big part of that. And if you're Claire in this position and Peter just pulled Tyrolia instead of Western Med or even Tyrrhenian Sea, like, you're doing a big what the hell, dude, right? Like, you're really stuck, right? Because even if
I thought he might pull Wes,
right, or even Tyrrhenian, right? Like, at least something that's in your face. You're like, I'm just gonna have to sit here going to just have to sit here. I've got Germany in the North Sea and a potential move to the Channel, but I can't make that move because I've got Peter here sitting on my stuff. Peter's not taking anything from me, but we're both basically going to just have to sit here and do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other issue, right, with
I need a backstabber link. Someone needs to Discord me a backstabber link. I can't get, sorry.
Are you asking us or these fine?
Somebody, the audience, somebody needs to just Discord.
Well, I'm
Go
too
ahead.
scared. If I go look for the backstabber link, I'm probably just going to see the end result. So I think if potentially if one of the players that's currently commenting, could send it through, that'd probably be
Dipcast
best.
is coming back very slowly, but maybe it'll come back.
Steven sent you a link apparently.
Thank you.
In the meantime, I mean, I think the other issue with Claire's position and how the board's reacting to it is everyone knows the type of style Claire plays, and when the 0-1 moves look the way they do in terms of Germany gets 3, England's building an army, London and convoyed into Norway, it can be quite hard to convince the East that, hey, I'm not actually doing something that I do quite a lot in terms of coalition building.
Totally.
It's like, I mean, hey, it works. Claire does so well and gets to these top boards off the back of that style. But this is probably one of the bumps and hurdles for her to win a top board that she needs to find a way to get over. And I mean, it's quite hard when it's Peter in Italy that you have to try and convince of that, though. So,
and I completely agree with everything you just said. And I'm wondering, though, doesn't that change once Germany has kicked England out of the North Sea, and now Italy has to make a choice of disbands, right? And Italy can say something in that choice like, okay, clearly this is not a triple anymore. There's play up there, so I'm going to pull a fleet that's going against you, but instead pulls that army in Tyrolia, which is like a linchpin in the middle of the board, and it's not the fleet, right? That's got to be so frustrating, right?
And I think Peter can also still keep that fleet in Western Med and just move Tyrrhenian Sea into Ionian now. And now if Claire wants Western Med gone, she has to use both of her fleets to push it back. And then suddenly Peter has to go back into Tyrrhenian to cover Tyrrhenian and Tunis. And it just creates a whole big issue.
All right,
that Western Med fleet though ties down both of Claire's fleets is the problem, right?
I want to thank everybody.
Maybe she can pop an army into Spain, but man, that is but you can't leave the Mid-Atlantic open in that position, right?
Here's spring 1903.
Oof. Oh boy.
Okay. Somebody comment while I grab a drink.
I think it's Wardy's turn.
Wardy, you want to do it?
Right, we have one fleet movement in the south, eastern. So presumably Italy will help Austria into Aegean in the fall for position on Turkey. Galicia walks away, and there's no attempt to take back Vienna. So there's some sort of agreement going on there. And a whole lot of nothing in the west by the looks of it. This is a very sedate turn.
So looking at the comments here, Nash just saying that she wanted Maya to move on Katie with her, which is a bit confusing when you decided to stab Maya to get Katie to move away, and now you're trying to flip it back. So I think it's just a lot of indecision and a lot of flip-flopping on intentions that's keeping the West, especially the EG relationship, so stagnant. So something's got to fix there for the West to start moving again. I feel.
Yeah, I think if you want England back on side, I mean, England's response. If I'm in England, it's like great, Denmark to Baltic, north to Denmark, and Sweden goes next year, and we do that whole thing, right? I mean, it's very easy if that's your intention, like, okay, you don't want to fight me, then get out of the North Sea and get into a position to actually fight Russia, right? But how can you credibly make a pitch to England in this position? Like, there's no pitch you can make other than I'm backing off and getting in a position to actually fight Russia.
Here's something I don't think we really discussed. I'm not seeing a benefit to transferring that Vienna from Italian to Russian. What is it for? I mean, they could.
Katie got to get fed.
Blow something up.
Katie got to get fed, Wardy. Come on.
Yeah, and Italy's got to go down. I don't. Yeah.
I mean,
She wasn't in a position to build a fleet.
I don't see a reason for it not to be Austrian, right? I mean, like,
yeah, right.
If I'm Jason, it's like, okay, it could be your army or it could be my army. Might as well be mine since it's my home center.
Yeah.
And I think actually Claire's frustration at Peter is probably actually what has led to Peter not moving anything away, actually, because Peter's like, well, if Claire's so frustrated at this and the heir can continue anyway, like if you trust Jason not to move into Ionian and you trust Jason not to move on Venice, then you can really say, okay, Jason, you be the fleet in Aegean and we can still kill Turkey off and Claire does nothing still. So I mean, I think this is just the West really, really needs to just figure stuff. I mean, I'm not sure what much Maya can do. I think it's really Germany and France need to figure out what their intentions are. I mean, Claire's armies could move against Germany. Like her fleets may be tied up, but those armies could still. Do
you think Claire's setting up to go to Piedmont now? I mean, like that would be not an unreasonable.
I think yeah. I mean, I think she is probably out of frustration at this point, and I mean, I'm not sure Peter cares. Is the issue? Ed, you're muted.
We have this for a second, so let's enjoy it while we have Dipcast. It came back.
I think it's Adam's turn.
It's me. Okay. All right. So in the West, England now gets Russia to tap Denmark for them to enable them to retake the North Sea. Otherwise, not a lot. I mean, there's a bounce in Piedmont, which is maybe not unexpected, and Peter's just sitting there in West Tyrrhenian. Jason is pushing down to Albania to cover Greece. Greece is going to the Aegean Sea. Russia is now had done what looked like they were going to be trying to reposition armies against Turkey, but it now looks like they're positioning to maybe move against Germany, right? Bohemia, Livonia, Warsaw, which can drop into Prussia, Silesia right away. So this might turn into a pile on to Germany, I guess.
Yeah, this to me looks like Nastya has pitched to Maya. Hey, Sweden and St. Petersburg keep bouncing in Finland. Why doesn't Norway support Sweden to Finland? Do them want to support? I walk into Sweden and then walk out of North Sea out your hair. And Maya's thought, why don't I just take North Sea anyway? And I just tell my friend in Russia to not do that.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, this is another opportunity that Nastya has if they want to make things copacetic with England. And frankly, seeing the Russian moves, like, why not disband the North and rebuild it in Berlin even as a fleet, it's fine, but why not rebuild it there and send the message to England like, okay, my bad, mea culpa, let's go do what we were going to do against Russia now, because, and maybe England bites and maybe they don't, but like retreating to Helgoland, especially from this position where you've got Russia creeping from behind me and basically keeps England as your enemy, I don't like it at all.
I think something that's being under talked about this year is Jason is in a wonderful position. He gets to put the build down. He's in Aegean. There's nothing in Ionian. Vienna's moved to Bohemia. Peter's stuck bouncing Piedmont, so Venice is open. He's gonna support Italy into Smyrna, and then he's probably gonna get Con. This is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful news for Jason. Probably the best year out of anyone in 03. And I mean, Jason, like if so Claire's saying that she's not going to favor Peter in the mid game, not going to really be able to do anything until Peter moves out of West. Why does Jason really care about relieving that pressure for Claire at this point? Like, there's no need for that. He can get Vienna back when Katie's getting Berlin because Katie's on 7, right? Like he has a path for the next 2 years or so where he doesn't have to anger anyone and he gets 2 dots out of this. So a really good start. Well, a really good comeback from 01 from Jason here. This is part of the reason that he made this top board is showing his skill here.
Okay, let's go to the winter. Or not. Fucking Dipcast.
There we go. Yep. So the only build is the pocket build by Austria. No dots changed hands that turn. All right.
All right, we will go to our...
Not a fleet.
Nah.
We will go to our sideline, and I hope that things are going to work.
Hey everyone, we are here for 03. There was a bit of tension to kick off with when this year started. I actually stayed just at the game table. We had Austria and Turkey, so Jason and Stephen just arguing with Claire sitting there at the table with them. They just didn't seem to be able to figure much out at all, unfortunately. And I think Claire was enjoying the show. If you're watching 2 other players argue in front of you, why not sit there? It gives you a lot of insight. It makes a lot of sense. I think Katie and Peter were talking at the same time. I caught the end of that conversation. They seem very coordinated, happy to work together. They're both reliable, solid, like amazing players. So they definitely see some opportunity to work together with some chaos, but the chaos is also a little bit stressful with them just trying to get some progress somewhere. What did you pick up?
Yeah, so I also was getting similar vibes there. But the things that I thought were most important from that conversation was from the conversation that ended up happening is Maya and Nasha sort of going back and forth on a conversation on how to handle the results of the stab that kind of went nowhere. Maya was hoping to get Germany to go back and turn on Russia, while also kind of accepting that the odds of actually happening were basically 0. Nasha offers willingness to support Norway to hold. But Maya points out, it's like, hey, all this is doing is giving Claire the chance to choose who to pick off and just to run the West whenever Peter backs off. And Maya's getting increasingly frustrated about just handing the game away in that manner.
Yeah, definitely.
Peter then blames Jason for being in the Western Med when talking to Claire, when I think Peter wisely choosing to be in the Western Med for his own devices and just throwing Jason under the bus nonstop for it.
He said in the closing comments with his conversation with Katie, he said, all right, we're good. I'm going to go waste Claire's time now. So.
Yes, correct. Exactly. And then the really interesting dynamic at the end of the spring, though, is Peter and Jason talking. And Peter is demanding that he gets Constantinople, right? Because he gave Vienna to Katie. Now Katie has a massive lead, and Peter's like, hey, why can I not get a build here? He does eventually acquiesce though when Jason like puts his foot down and says no, like that's not going to happen. In exchange for future help back into Vienna. But as we all know, and you can cover in future conversations, this does not happen.
Yeah, so like Peter moves up to Tyrolia. I think Claire comes across from Gascony to Marseille. So Peter was then going to have to worry about that. I didn't actually get to catch many Peter conversations in the fall. I was mainly sitting with Jason and Katie. They both seem convinced that the West is coordinated, maybe even doing fake stabs around North Sea and whatever. And they think that the West is just waiting for the East to collapse, and then Claire will come out on top from that. But what was interesting was there was a bit of a conversation that I caught with Claire and Nastya that Germany mentioned that Stephen and Turkey had been pitching for them to move North Sea to the English Channel. At that point, Claire sort of laughs and is like, okay, yep, fair enough. Like he should be worrying about the air. But they end up talking about that for a little bit. It seems like the conversations between Claire and Germany's Nastya's just giving sort of whatever information Claire wants, whereas conversations between Claire and England seem a little bit more tense. Like Maya seems a little bit frustrated and is not as willing to give information, but is sort of accepting that Germany and France are not going to attack them. And that seems to be something Germany and France are reassuring England of as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the fall turns out, because if they all sort of just chill and stay friendly, hopefully the East can get something from that.
Yeah, makes sense. I think what I also found interesting was a conversation between Peter and Claire, which, as you say, Peter had with the intention of just wasting Claire's time. But towards the end of it, you can tell that, like, I think Claire's sort of getting frustrated by these conversations that are going ultimately nowhere, because she makes an ultimatum to Peter regarding the movement of Western Med away. And Claire says, basically, if you do not move Western Med away this turn, I'm going to be attacking you basically until the end of the game. I just don't have a choice in it. And Peter then says, that sounds like an ultimatum. And they have a little back and forth about it. And like, Peter says, like, he doesn't like the ultimatum, and ultimately Claire can do it if she wants to, but it's only good for Katie and not good for her. Claire says that she knows and like recognizes that. She tells Peter that she can read the board as well as he can, and that he isn't a threat to win the game like right now. And therefore, like, she's happy to work with them. Peter, I think, like, has like a silent chuckle about it, and is like momentarily stunned. And then I think just leaves off to go talk to the AR again, which basically just is being pushed by Jason. Go to the line, go to the line, go to the line. And they have some reticence, but I think they eventually acquiesce and say, like, sure, like, I think we can go to the line now.
Yeah. No, that's it. There was a brief conversation I caught between Katie and Stephen as well. They just, Stephen's like, what are we going to do about this Austria? We got to deal with them. And then they immediately started getting all tense and arguing with each other to a point where they just had to de-escalate and be like, all right, look, we're going to go talk to other people. And there's a bit of tension over there, but I think the air is pretty coordinated with their movements west and east. So we'll have to see how that pans out. So we'll head back to the board now.
Thanks.
Peter ruling the board.
Yeah, what did you guys think about Peter there?
Shenanigans. He's doing what Peter does, and it works to his advantage. 99 times out of 100, right? So,
I think Peter's okay with the frustration with Claire, because Peter's going to get the build out of Turkey somewhere, and that will open up more play for him, especially if Katie remains a dominant force in the east. It allows him play into Austrian dots potentially, while still keeping Claire frustrated. I think Claire's got to have the mental calculations of, okay, Peter's not actually fighting me. He's just riling me up. Let's see if I can do something on in the West whilst still keeping Peter busy over there in Western Med. And I think that's going to be the key to Claire having success here, because I don't think Peter's going to back down from West Med. I don't see a reason for him to, and I think if Claire wants to win, Claire needs to look elsewhere and avoid the frustration of just pushing into Peter all game.
All right. We're going to go old school. Lots of problems. Brian's to the rescue, but we've got it loaded up. Spring 1904. Darcy.
All right. So we see the slow squeeze of Nastya continues as there is collaboration between the disgruntled Maya and Katie as they support Maya into Denmark, and Katie moves down into Prussia and Silesia. Meanwhile, Katie also helps Trieste into Tyrolia here to take over from Italy's position, who Peter is too busy dealing with Piedmont to help on Munich, so this makes sense for the heir as well. Meanwhile, Peter gets the build out of Smyrna, and it looks like Con will form next as Katie finally gets into Black Sea, and it looks like this will spell the end for Stephen. Claire does get into Belgium, however, which is definitely of note, and I expect Claire to keep hold of Belgium there, potentially to build a fleet against Peter. But yes, it seems like Katie's managed to take advantage of the disgruntled EG relationship to her benefit, and it could prove very useful long term.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, as Germany, but why cede Belgium to France? I know you need a friend, but like you can always throw out, oh well, if you're just going to take my dots, I'm going to just give it all to Russia or something. I don't see that as helpful in any way to Germany going down two. Well, three it'll be actually, won't it?
Two quick hits in the south or the east. One is I just want to point out how clever the move of Russia supporting Trieste to Tyrolia is in terms of the AIR. It's a really clever move because it allows Peter to continue bouncing Piedmont while getting that unit out of the way. So it now goes to Venice, where it can still bounce Piedmont, but puts now the Austrian unit in a position of Tyrolia where it actually can participate in the attack on Munich. Really nice play by the three of them. The other is I just want to point out that I think Stephen made a tactical mistake here. He had to know that the right moves to take Smyrna were that Khan was going to get cut here. So there was no need not to bounce the Black Sea. He could have bounced the Black Sea. He was never going. I guess he was hoping that Jason was going to make a supported attack on Khan here rather than supporting Peter in, and guessed wrong. But I think he very much could have just tapped the Black Sea here without really much risk of losing anything extra.
I think something of note that we also have to look at here is Maya moving to open up London, which could be anti-Claire in the future from the build that I assume Wild will be getting at the end of this year. So I think this could start to really fall Wild's way, even if Claire does get that build out of Belgium, which I expect to happen. But I think this is just what sort of has to happen here, which is sort of what has to happen here for Wild in terms of working with Russia, because it seems like there's absolutely no in in terms of getting France or Germany to fight each other.
Okay.
So if they're not going to fight each other, then something else has to happen.
All right, we've got Brian to the rescue with Dipcast remotely doing his thing. So
Can you mute him though?
we can. But can Brian? We were fighting for mute. Can Brian advance it to fall 1904?
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. All right, here we go. Wardy, what do you see?
I see bad news for Germany losing Munich. Berlin is likely to follow soon. Denmark has gone. We still have Belgium though because France walked out. So that's one thing at least. That's the West. In the East, Con now does fall, and we're down to just one for Turkey. So, yeah, not looking good.
Is Jason in the giving Katie dots business? And I'm really perplexed by Jason's choices here. Is anyone else?
You think he should at least take Vienna back here, right?
I mean, Katie's going up too, and he's, Khan is a natural Austrian dot, or at least take Rum or take Vienna here. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I mean, I think you should be taking back Vienna, sure, but also Katie's just moved Bohemia into Munich and moved Rum into Con, right? All of those are away from Austria, right? That opens up Vienna and Rum more easily accessible for Jason whenever he wants it, really. And I expect that he probably still will get Con. It'll just be a backfilling of Russia. However, you are playing a dangerous game by letting Katie build 2, which could very well be Army Sev, Army Warsaw, and then suddenly it's not as easy to take Vienna and Rum. But it's early doors, diplomatic capital with Katie, make Katie seem like the big top threat, and then get the whole board to react to that. Who knows? I probably would have taken Vienna here, but I don't hate it completely.
Nobody's moving against Katie, and nobody's going to move against Katie, right? Like the bridges between England and Germany have been burned, right? So like they're fighting each other, and I don't know. As long as Katie doesn't annoy England, I just don't see anyone pushing against her at this point.
I mean, it probably has to be Jason. Right. I mean, again, I would have taken Vienna. I would have taken Vienna, but I don't think it's too late for to be the awful move for Jason.
Yeah, the Peter Claire relationship is just really disappointing to see.
Munich didn't have to fall here.
Berlin and Munich both tap Silesia, and it's fine. I think it was just a tactical oversight, I think.
All right, Brian, would you go to Winter, please?
Tried to support Munich out to Silesia, which I don't think was...
Yeah. Berlin is also... If Berlin and Munich both tap Silesia, and you've got...
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. What does Katie build?
Army Warsaw, Army Sev, it's going to the line. I'm backfilling Bohemia sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, run it through.
Oh, Wave is smart.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go to our sideline, 1904.
Hi, everyone. We're here for 04, and we have Michalis, the TD himself, joining us for sideline. Welcome back, sir.
Hello.
I'll let you guys take the lead with this one. This year was a little bit quieter. How did you guys see it all turn out?
I'll give the first person to Michalis since he's joining us now.
All right. So I started off following England and Germany, who had a conversation debating a lot about sort of why Germany didn't want Sweden last year, and not a lot about what they actually wanted to do this year. It was very sort of past tense conversation and no real planning. Claire joined the conversation and started talking about how big Katie's getting. Katie's getting everything her own way. The heirs going to favour Katie, and but also starts to say that she really needs a dot for herself, and so she wants England to move to Barents and Germany to give Belgium to Claire, so that Germany's even when they get Sweden in this imagined Western triple. England then goes and talks to Katie, and Katie is just offering England dots. Katie says her priority is to do anything to stop a Western triple from forming. So Katie's very concerned about Germany going to Baltic, but just says England, like, if you want to commit this turn, and the Western triple is asking England to commit without offering them a dot, I'll give you Denmark. And Maya agrees.
Right. And there's like a lot of talk about like tactics here in order to convince Maya, like, hey, like this is actually something that's like really in your interest. And the other side doesn't really have your interest at heart, right? Because Katie is supremely persuasive here as she talks to Maya. It's like, hey, like, I can get you a build here. You can defend yourself even if Claire does come at you. Because one, Peter is going to keep Claire in the box, prevent her from actually being able to come at you full force. But even if you do, you have the army in Yorkshire. You'll be putting down a build on the island. Claire can't do anything to you, and that's really when Maya agrees that this is worthy of consideration.
Yeah, that's it. Over in the east, we had pretty much the AT. They spoke sporadically throughout the year, but it was just constantly getting nowhere. I think there was a few times throughout this year as well when there were a lot of people sitting in their rooms on their own, and all three of us were actually sitting in on the only conversation that was happening. That sort of happened a few times too, and that was mainly it changed which countries were talking together a couple of times, but yeah, I think it was mainly England and Russia for a bit there. We were just sitting there, listening to them.
Yep. The game seems to really hinge on what England wants to do here, and I'm very, very excited to see what their actual end choice is.
Yeah, the in full there was a very long conversation in the West between initially France and England, where Claire was asking Maya what on earth they were doing going in on Germany, and then Germany joined, and the East just sort of let this conversation go on for 10-12 minutes, where France and Germany were both talking to Maya, pitching really hard for her to back out, that this was all benefiting the heirs to stick together. And it seemed like it was working, but when that conversation ended and Maya went in and had a conversation with Katie, it only lasted about 3 minutes, but Katie was able to point out that, yeah, that this is the only way you're getting dots, and you need to stick with me, and I'll help you build and help you grow, and Claire can't do anything to you. So it looks like it worked out for Katie and Maya in the end.
Yep. The other major conversation that was going on there was about Constantinople and how the AIR pushes forward. At first, I think Austria really did want a dot here, and they argued quite passionately that they should be the one getting Constantinople so they could enable the wiping of Turkey. But I think that Austria could sense that the Wintergreen was not fully on board with the idea of him getting the build in Constantinople, and he quickly pivoted and said, like, like, I just want to keep this working together. I don't want either of you guys turning on me. I'll convoy Romania to Constantinople. Like, does that work for everyone? Or sorry, I'll support the convoy Romania to Constantinople. Does that work for everyone? And Peter says, sure, that's fine by me, just so long as you're supporting Smear to hold. And I think that Jason does a good job of reading the situation and adapting his pitches and his constraints and his requests in order to keep the AIR humming together as they move across the board.
Yeah, definitely. I think that sums it up very nicely. There's definitely been some interest. I'm going to stop talking. I'm rambling. Anyway, we're going to thanks for joining us today, Carl.
Okay.
Look, I think the biggest takeaway I'm getting from this and from England's psyche basically is it felt like from the beginning of the game, Wild was frustrated at how close France and Germany were, and the only person that genuinely seems to be in Wild's corner the most as an ally is Katie. And if you're failing to seem genuine to your ally, even if you're being truthful, it can just completely cost you any chance in the game. I think if I was Claire, I would have just understood that Germany is a lost cause. You stay in Belgium, you try and create some sort of working relationship with Wild around Holland and Kiel and stuff, and get Wild to see a future in an EF. Especially with the line being pretty much broken already. I think Claire should have probably cut Nastya loose, and I think Wild's just too frustrated at the West's inability to fight each other or desire to fight each other, and Katie seeming the only one that's in Wild's corner. I could be wrong, but that's just what I'm getting from it.
All right, so usually here we go. Spring 1905. Take it away, Adam.
In the West, we have Wild going out of Helgoland Bight up to the North Sea, and Eddie going to the Norwegian Sea. This is really interesting because it is not indicative of an attack on Germany. Much the contrary, they are finally making an attack on Russia by kicking them out of Sweden from Norway. They do lose Norway in the process, but I think they'll be in a position to retake it depending on how they take Claire's move to the English Channel here. Most likely, Claire's move to the English Channel is indicative of Claire, as Darcy was suggesting, cutting Nastya out and finally making that move into Belgium, into Ruhr, etc. Peter, the consequence of this is Peter is now in Piedmont, so Claire's going to have to respond to that. Berlin is lost. Why is Berlin lost?
Sweden taps Baltic.
Sweden tapped Baltic is why Berlin is lost. Okay, so 3-on-2, and then Russia takes Ankara here. Self-balancing Constantinople, and Katie will have to cover 7 the fall, but that is not an issue for her. So, yeah, but I mean, maybe also very interesting is Tyrrhenian Sea is now in the Ionian Sea, and Smyrna is now in the Eastern Med. So what is Peter going to do next is probably...
Convoy.
Convoy where?
Rome went to Apulia.
Yeah.
It's probably going to get convoyed into... My guess is Albania or Greece.
Oof.
I don't know. I mean, he's got a Venice problem theoretically. Yep. Jason sees all this.
Yeah, but what's the point in convoying into Smyrna, an army? Like, where's his next dot if it's not Austrian?
Yeah. It's not going to be French, is it?
I'll be very interested to see how Wild's reaction is to the move into Channel, the move into Heligoland, and everything. If she patches up with Katie as a response, or if
I think this is EF now, isn't it?
All right. I don't know, but we're going to move to the fall. We are going to move to the fall. There we go. We're on Brian's schedule. I see when he's got orders in the box, it means we got to move. Let's go. All right, Wardy, you're up.
Okay. Germany takes Denmark as France picks up Holland. So Germany is not long for this world. That's added to the loss of Berlin. We've re-dipsy-doodled in Sweden, Norway there. That looks like that is a genuine scrap to my eyes, but there is a chance it could be some sort of arrangement up there, and then they change their mind. Thank you, Stephen, for playing. It was a bold choice of Turkey in second place in the order. It didn't pay off on this occasion. And hooray, Vienna is Austrian again. But Katie still goes up.
Stephen made it longer than most turkeys. Adam, you're about to say something.
Well, yeah, why not also Romanian Khan here, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I do worry for him.
Well, I mean, it was actually a serious comment. Like,
I think it's because Jason. I think it's because Jason probably feels like he doesn't have any ally in the East when he makes the stab, right? So he's probably waiting for. You probably wait another year if you can get away with that, so that Peter's too busy committed to trying to get a dot out of Claire, to really be effectual in a fight against Austria. But whether or not he gets that year that he's looking for is to be confirmed.
Well, at least Katie can't build an army in Sevastopol.
I think he should have stabbed here if he was comfortable with Peter, which I guess he was not. Is the problem? Even though Peter.
Well, that's what it sounded like in negotiations last in what we heard in Sideline. Is it very much feels like it's wintergreen and Jason being like, please, please, please allow the air to continue.
Right.
But maybe Claire moving in on the west a bit more and opening up for Peter potentially in the Med is what Jason needs for Italy to back off a little bit.
All right, why don't we go to Bill's?
That Peter prioritized defending Venice from a potential Austrian attack over maybe making sure that Marseille was full for a build, or to try and snag Spain somehow. He was more worried about Jason trying one on.
That's a good point. Okay, we see the builds here. Fleet Marseille. Any comments on the builds?
Fleet St. Pete South Coast shows that Katie doesn't desire to fight Wild long term here. Probably means Wild will be back on Team Katie after losing Denmark to Nastra. So it seems like after Wild finally moves against Russia, that it's going to be back to normal scheduling in terms of E and G fighting each other, which can only be good for Katie.
Oof! If I see that as Wild, I'm really unhappy about that South Coast build. If I'm England, I really, really don't like that. They don't need that fleet anymore. They've basically taken most of Germany. That is what's going to be Russia in this position. If I'm working as England, Russia, like I'm expecting Denmark is mine and probably Kiel is mine, right? Like that means we're further escalating up there. I'm now expecting to see that go to Bothnia, Moscow, to come up to St. Petersburg, and I don't like that position at all. I'm very worried if I'm England and I see that build.
All right, let's hit our sideline.
All right, we're here for 05. How was the spring for you, Michaelis?
All right, so spring there was Nastya opening up saying that there's no way to stop Katie winning. She's telling Katie that I'm just going to be your janissary. There's no way to stop you winning unless there's like a full board alliance against you, which I don't think is going to happen. Katie is immediately quashing this and says she thinks there might be a full board alliance against her. But Nastya is just pitching the janissary role, and Katie's like, 4 dots is a lot for a janissary, but Nastya seems to want to stay on 4. She says that she's going to go for Denmark, let Katie have Berlin, and that's sort of all they agree to at this point. Beyond that, Jason and Katie then talk. Jason is quite annoyed about Peter building the army in Rome. Peter has agreed to build a fleet there and instead has built an army, which would have broken open Claire's position. And Jason is quite unhappy that that's not the case. Jason and Katie, there's a brief AIR conversation, but it only lasts about a minute. And when Peter leaves, both Jason and Katie think Peter was being extremely shady in it. Jason just wants the air to stick together until they've actually crossed the line. He says that yes, we've taken Munich, but that's really all we've done in the West, and this isn't enough at this stage. So yeah, that's Jason really wants the air to stick together a bit longer across the line, but he seems to be a lot more pro Katie than he is pro Peter at this point. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. Like that read on the air, I think is bang on. In the spring, I was mainly listening to the West, and I think Maya's not exactly sure where they want to go. Nastya seemed full tilt sort of against England, talking about just sort of throwing the Katie, or at least just throwing everything against Maya. And the only chat that I sort of took note of there was when Claire was making a really good pitch to Nastya, saying, you know, like throwing against Maya or throwing against Katie, it's not really going to work. You'll be benefiting one or the other, and they've both stabbed you. So why don't you work with me instead? I haven't hurt you. I've done nothing. And you know, that's a good pitch. And I didn't catch how they went in the fall, so I'm not really sure where their conversation went there. But I know I was pretty much caught in the East with a lot of people talking about situations that they wanted to be different, but they were talking to the wrong people about it. Like, yeah, the air again, just constantly talking together and not breaking off to go and stop the West talking, because there is a lot of tension in the West and it can be cracked, but everyone is just leaving them be and they're all talking. And I think Claire's doing a good job of patching up the West enough to benefit her. And now she's in a position where she can get a couple of builds potentially. And Peter's regretting his moves east, and Katie's worried about, you know, losing something in Scandinavia. And yeah, it's looking pretty tough, and there's a lot of tension.
Yeah, I mean, in the Western Ball, like Katie and Maya talked. Katie is like quite upset that Maya's moved on her, doesn't really understand it. Says, "Why have you given up on Holland, Kiel, and Belgium just to take Sweden?" And Maya sort of agrees, but there's no concrete plan to put moves together. There's no discussion about supporting Denmark down into Kiel, which potentially might have worked. They really didn't discuss any moves whatsoever. Then there's just more conversations between Maya and Jason, Maya and Claire, and in no conversations is anyone really offering Maya anything. It's all well, you just need to sort of figure out your own moves. The only person who actually asks any specific move from Maya is Peter asking her to go to North Atlantic Ocean, which Maya recognizes is definitely not the play and quickly says, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing that." But at the end of the day, basically, Claire is being given sort of 8 to 10 minutes to talk to Maya every phase, and everyone else, Katie doesn't seem to talk to Maya for more than about 2 or 3 minutes, and Claire is really using that extra negotiation time to, even if she's not getting Maya to make specific moves, just make sure that the moves she does make are not against Claire. So Claire is definitely benefiting from how much time she spends talking to Maya, and the East and everyone else isn't really spending enough time talking about that, I think.
Yeah, that's it. You know, like this game is based off of vibes. It's based off of talking. Like tactics are very important, but if you're getting that time to communicate with someone, you've got more of a chance of being able to turn them around and, you know, maybe not be pro you, but you can at least get them not anti you. So, yeah, I think the chaos in the East is costing them in the West. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. There's talk of Jason wanting to go full tilt against Peter because of Peter's moves in the spring. He had a bit of a chat with Katie about that, but neither of them seemed to really come to a agreement on whether that would happen or not. I do think ultimately Jason would like everyone to go to the line and go west and stuff like we said, but yeah, I think he's feeling nervous and there's a bit of potential for a stab on Peter.
All right, well, I think that about covers everything for now.
Beautiful. All right, we'll get back to it.
All right. Thank you to our sideline reporters. You guys glean anything from that?
I mean, Katie is just winning the crucial relationship battles on every single side of the board. correctly finding and taking advantage of Wild's frustration and Nasty's frustration with each other, and using that to her benefit. And then on the other side of the board, making sure that Jason, the Austria that's really sitting behind both Peter and Katie in terms of position on the west, making sure that Jason is more likely to be stabbing Peter than to stab Katie.
I mean, it's insane, right? Who is 4 dots ahead in this game is Katie. Who is Jason potentially in a position to stab well? Katie. Who is Jason thinking about possibly stabbing? Peter, right? I mean, that is just masterful work on Katie's part. I mean, I agree with everything Darcy just said. This is just really insane unless somebody is thinking something different from what they're saying, which is generally not so much the case.
Well, a Russia 2 dots ahead might be equal with everybody else, but a Russia 4 dots ahead is rather stunning.
I've never seen such an imbalanced AIR at this stage of a game. 10-6-5. How has she done that?
All right. Brian, can we see Spring 1906? And Adam, you're on deck.
Sure. Yeah, Katie's just moving down to Romania to cover that and supporting Bosnia out. Meanwhile, Nastya is attacking Sweden. She does kick that out, but England is pretty much actually on board with Katie here, going into Helgoland, Biden North. So I guess Darcy had the right read on that here. Claire is out of the English Channel, covering from Peter. And bouncing Lyon, so that fleet doesn't get out, but it's full on FI war and full on EG war, I guess, at this stage, to the extent that Germany is still kind of here, which that move to Sweden is interesting. I mean Katie gets a retreat to Skag, so maybe can retake it.
They were saying on the sideline,
she doesn't actually take it. I'm sorry, I misread that. Finland supported Sweden, so Sweden is not dislodged. My mistake there.
This is not Janissary behaviour from Nastya. If that is
no,
still a pitch. But it doesn't look like she's going to be around for a great deal longer.
I expect to see Kiel get taken here, Denmark get taken here, and probably if I'm Claire, you just have to take Belgium. Just like Germany's dead, it's over. Katie has won the battle to kill Germany with England. Take what you can while you can, and move on.
I don't think Germany can really blame France for doing it if she does.
And I think the 2 builds that Claire gets, an army in Paris and a fleet in Brest, would basically lock down the line, let her lock down the line with Peter, so she can basically say, we're going to sit here for the next 4 years or not, right?
All right.
I think that's right. That if she's able,
yeah.
Brian wants us to go, so we're going to go, Darcy. All right, fall 1906. Darcy.
All right. Denmark falls. Belgium does get taken by Claire. Kiel, however, does not get taken. It is good play by Claire to make sure that Russia doesn't get the build out of Kiel. Elsewhere, we see Katie moves Moscow up to St. Petersburg, which again, Wild will not be happy about. But again, not much Wild can really do. Elsewhere in the east, we see Jason not really do too much. Peter moves Ione into Tunis, which gives Jason more stab potential on Peter. And it's looking rather trumps up for Katie still, as I don't really see any slowing down of fighting between Claire and Peter. It will be interesting to see what Wild does next year, now that the dots that really are available to her out of Germany have been taken. Yes, what is told by Max in the Max 10 Banks in the comments is Rur is moved into, which is crucial to the taking of Kiel and any potential fighting to force Burgundy. So that's another good move from Air.
That's a line cracking move, right? I mean that is a way that the AIR can crack the line and now have access to dots that really they probably shouldn't, right? Dots like the Low Countries or even French dots.
Especially when when Claire's vacating Ruhr to take
Yep.
Belgium with it, right? They didn't have to. She didn't have to lose Ruhr here. She could have taken Belgium from Burgundy.
Yep.
But you didn't know what Munich was going to do, so it's hard. It's hard to know. But it's also it's a bit of a risk, right? I mean, Trump's up for Katie. That's probably an expression I don't know, but I understand what it means. But there's a lot of armies in the center of the board. If Jason turns now, there could be some opportunity for him, depending on what the build situation is like. Speaking of which, Brian, why don't we roll it to that one build?
I mean, Peter can't want Katie to get all these dots here and break into France. Surely they need to sort something out. Otherwise,
well, what's Peter good? What can Peter possibly do other than look as little threatening to Jason as possible to get Jason to stab Katie? Like there's not
is Jason going to do it?
Probably not. But what else could he really do to try and convince
405 was the moment, right? And he didn't do it. So that makes me think, right, well, if Jason's not going to stop Katie, then I need EF to go and stop her. So maybe he just needs to get in a fight with Jason. If Jason's not going to do it anyway, I mean, maybe he can persuade him, but
He does that. He helps Claire.
Yeah, I mean, how does he fight Jason in this position? He's got nothing.
I know. Yeah, there isn't a fight on and he loses Smyrna, but like I don't think he can afford to fight Claire, can he?
Well, if he lets up on Claire, what's Claire going to do? Claire's going to go up against Wild, who isn't facing Claire at all, and Claire would probably win that fight up there. If there is a fight against Katie in the middle of the board, or in the east or up top, then the middle of the board opens up for Claire, and she can get dots potentially out of Kiel, Munich, right? And Claire's now 3 centers behind Katie, and if Katie starts disbanding for whatever reason, then Claire starts getting into it, and then Peter has to worry about Claire heading down into the med. So it's like it's all a little bit too hard for Peter to balance. Sure, I mean, you could say he's in a prison of his own creation, but I mean, I think it's more Jason's decision not to fight Katie for dots like Con or Romania that's really the issue here, more so than Peter's decision to hold up Claire. I mean,
right.
Sure, it may be a factor, but I don't think it's the whole thing.
All right, we see everything that got built. Let's go to the sidelines. I think we're getting our signal from Brian to speed it along. Let me hit our sideline.
Okie dokie. We are in 06. It feels like there wasn't a lot going on in this year. There was a lot of chats, but not really a lot of agreements made. A lot of tension between E and G, but that's the only thing that seems like really, really solid. Everyone else is flip-flopping in their conversations or just not really sure of what they want, really, and they're not really pushing any suggestions.
It's like the lack of agreement is the real theme this year. Like spring starts in 06 with Peter telling Claire he doesn't have a plan. He's annoyed Claire built Fleet Marseille instead of Army Marseille, whereas Claire is annoyed he's moved back and thinks he's attacking her with everything. So there's no sort of agreement between them. Then Peter goes and talks to Jason, and they have a big talk about Katie's on 10, but really 4 of them are very tenuous to hold. So actually, Claire is the bigger threat because she's got all the German dots in her pocket. Both of them are really hoping that Maya will hit Claire and that will let Peter break through. So Peter goes and talks to Maya. He really keeps asking for Norwegian to North Atlantic and says that the way that they both have a chance of winning is we contain Claire and put the onus on Jason to contain Katie. But Maya is really focused on German dots this year. She doesn't want to attack Katie. She doesn't want to attack Claire. She just wants to get some growth and get back into an okay position. Like Claire pitches to Maya to go after Katie, and Maya doesn't really want to do that. Claire is concerned Peter's going to hit her with everything, and Claire says that if Maya attacks her, then she'll throw the game to Peter. In full, there's then this big conversation between Maya and Nastya, whereas Nastya is saying that if Maya keeps attacking her, then Maya is throwing the game to Katie. It's not really clear how. She says that anything Maya takes, Katie will gain, which doesn't seem very plausible, but who knows? And yeah, like I'll go over to you.
Yeah, that's it. Like there's been a lot of back and forth. Yeah, Peter definitely wanting Maya to make those moves to help crack Claire open. And, if Peter hadn't have moved east that little bit ago, he would already be well into some French centers. With that, I think Jason's been tossing up his options. He had a bit of a chat with Maya as well, but this was towards the end of fall, in which Maya was admitting that she was texting Claire at the same time and saying that what she does around Denmark, whether she coordinates with Katie or with Nastya or with Claire, was really dependent on what Claire wanted. So I think England will still work with Russia here, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, poor old Germany's in a bit of a tough spot. And as they've been for most of the game, they just sort of want to work with Claire and go from there. But yeah, it's been, even though it felt like there was a lot of conversations to listen to, I don't think much really shifted. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic played out.
Yeah, even in fall, like it continues in the East when Jason and Peter are talking. But basically, Jason is pitching really hard for Peter to send that other fleet west. He doesn't like that Ionian tried to backfill Turanian Sea. He's like, either you go to Tuscany in Turanian or you go to Tunis, and maybe I come across. But if Tunis can go to North Africa, he is determined to get 3 Italian fleets against the French, and basically says, like, I'm not going to attack you. There's still a lot of years left in this game. But this is what I'm doing, and I really need you to go west. Peter is like, well, but don't you want me to be in a position to convoy to Smyrna to contain Katie? But Jason is really not interested in that. He is all out about making sure Peter actually commits west. When Jason and Katie talk, like they're generally agreeing. They're not really coordinating any specific moves beyond holding Munich, but it's all pretty friendly between the two of them. At one point, Katie does float. Like, what if you just walked into Smyrna? What would Peter be able to do about it? But Jason's not sold on that either. He is very much on the air train still. And when Jason goes to Maya later in the phase, he's pitching hard for Maya to take Holland, but Maya is still she wants to take Denmark and lock that down before doing anything anywhere else.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so I guess we're in the second half now. This is the end of 06. Still plenty of game time left, and looking at the board position, it could still go a few different ways. And I reckon there's enough chaos here that it could really do a spin and just go in a direction we're not really seeing at the moment. So yeah, well, let's head back to the board and see where they're at.
Okay, anything you guys glean from the sideline? Wardy, you're looking like King Tut there. You have some. What does King Tut think?
In order for Katie to be stopped on this board, there needs to be the willpower to stop her, and I am not hearing that exists right now.
If Jason
hearing
wants Katie to win, she'll win.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of what I think happens quite a lot on top boards. I've actually played quite a few because I play so many face-to-face and virtual tournaments now. a lot of people can get overly hung up on the fact that, oh, we have more time in the game. There's more time. We don't have to worry. We can do that later. And it seems like Jason may be falling victim to, we have time. It's okay. Things will be okay in terms of balancing against Katie. And that could cost the rest of the board a chance to win.
Well, they are running out of railroad. You would think if we're going to see a move, we're going to see it soon. 08 may be too late. All right, Brian, if you could run through spring. And Darcy, you're up.
All right. So we do see Jason take Constantinople. However, it does seem by agreement with Katie supporting that. Furthermore, we see Katie takes Norway, as Norway is convoyed into Denmark, and Denmark moves into Skagerrak. We see Kiel fall to Katie as well. So it seems everything's going in Katie's favor, because I do believe she can hold Norway as well in fall and cover Sweden. So it's looking very much like Katie will be going at least +1 this year, further putting her out of reach of the rest of the board.
She loses Khan. She loses Khan.
Yeah, sure, but it's still going +1. And like Claire has no dots that she can feasibly take. Like it's pretty locked up in the med. So it looks very much like it's gonna take a monumental effort here and a massive stab by Jason to move the needle outside of Katie's favor.
Adam, this is my question. Notice Ruhr is going to Kiel and Paris is going to Gascony. It doesn't appear Katie's really going to push the line much further, except maybe against England. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that's probably right. I mean, if she's going to be at 11 and taking Denmark, perhaps in a future turn, and she can hold everything else she has. Well, I mean, what does she need to do at this point? Nobody's anywhere near going to get anywhere near 12, right? So actually, the idea that her subsequent builds can be used to more shore up the line against Austria, for example, to discourage Jason from doing anything, would make a lot of sense rather than continuing to push.
I'm a tad surprised that she doesn't take Norway with the army from St. Petersburg to open it up for a Northern Fleet build here. Anyone else have that?
I think any builds are going into Sev and going into Warsaw.
Yeah, right. To what I was just saying, and in agreement with what Darcy just said, I think future builds are not for pushing. There's no reason to push beyond 12. It's about holding what you've got.
All right. Brian,
England's got to be disappointed that they've got absolutely nothing out of their takedown of Germany at all.
All right, Chris, what do you think is going on here? Fall 1907.
Yeah, Darcy understood the tactics right. That's a good defense of Norway there, and covering Sweden from Katie. No way through. So I'm just looking at Wes. Did Spain must have supported Mao, but it's covered up. So doesn't get into Western Med. That would have been a bit of a cock up, but that had been allowed to happen. That transfer. So not an awful lot in the fall, apart from just a line being put by France back into Ruhr.
And we say goodbye to Nastya.
Mm-hmm.
It is curious that Spain doesn't support Marseille to Lyon.
Because Spain's supporting.
Spain supports Mao. It supports Mid-Atlantic.
It's supporting Mid-Atlantic. Okay, obviously, right. We do say goodbye to Nastya. Nastya, sorry, this was not your game.
Great job getting here and fighting it out.
did make it through 07, and frankly, you got Germany, which is a bit of a good for the 7th seed. So happy for you, Brian. If you push it forward to what does Katie build? That's basically our question.
Army 7, not Army Moscow. Okay, that's fair.
Only gets the one because she didn't pick
Army
up Denmark. Army Moscow is fair. Of course, Jason got the build there, and he builds the only place he can. There's room. There's some room for a stab here. I'm sure Peter wants it.
I mean, I think as much as it probably kills Claire in terms of stopping Katie, I think Claire needs to be putting Jason into Munich, which she did offer last turn, if you check that. So that Jason gets Munich, Jason needs Smyrna, he needs Ankara, he needs Rum, and then the game's on. Claire, meanwhile, needs to find a spare unit to go fighting Liverpool, and stuff like that to have a way into the game. But at the moment, it seems it's Katie, or if not Katie, then it's probably Jason.
A slight disagree there. I think a Jason Claire team up of Katie coupled with another move. Jason's path may be to help Claire here. I think Katie is vulnerable, especially with the last set of moves. But let's go to our sideline and see what the players are talking about.
Okay, we've got the year 07 is behind us. I have sat here for the last half an hour listening to chats, and there's been some pretty funny comments and some shade thrown around the board, but I haven't actually listened into many constructive conversations. There was a decent chat between Claire and Maya about if they have any conflict, it's just going to benefit other people, so they just need to not engage with each other. And I think from the other chats, I'm pretty confident that they won't. Poor Nastya in Germany has been knocked down to 1 and had her unit piffed as well, so really didn't have much opportunity to negotiate in the fall. But yeah, like Claire's obviously got this conflict between her and Peter. They've just been locked for this whole game, and that's really slowing down both of them, while Jason and Katie are really reaping the benefits from it. But yeah, Michaelis, what did you hear from listening to the East?
Yeah, so for me, this was the year of Jason Gray. I think Jason Gray has played this year, and to be honest, most of this game exceptionally well. He is balancing this on sort of a fine-toothed comb, and it's working very nicely. So at the start of the year, like Katie and Jason are talking, and they're like, "Oh, we need to blow Norway up," and that's the plan. And he's like, "All right, but if you're getting Norway, I need Constantinople." And Katie immediately agrees. There's some later back and forth about whether the army or the fleet goes in, because Peter joins. Peter is very insistent he wants the fleet to take on. He wants that fleet away from him. And Katie is very insistent that the army takes it. She doesn't want that fleet anywhere near Black Sea. And Katie wins that argument. I think Jason is more interested in keeping a fleet presence in the Mediterranean, depending on what happens there. And but when Peter leaves, there's just more conversation between Peter and Jason, and they're talking about what to do about Kiel. And there's points where Katie's offering Munich to him, and he's like, I don't need to take it now. I don't need to take it now, but I do want to take it at some point. And they're just trying to work out the most optimal way to take Kiel, to kill Germany off. And I think they do solve that in a way that makes both of them happy. But later on, Peter is asking, like, I'm not very happy about Smyrna because it's completely unholdable. Can I have a dot in exchange? And Jason basically shuts it down, and Katie just says, well, if you don't want to own Smyrna, you don't have to, with a bit of a chuckle, not offering him anything in return. It's very much a joke, but I think it's very clear that AR are more comfortable with each other, and Peter is feeling like a little bit on the outside of it. He basically starts talking to Maya, to them later on, and says he was hoping Maya would help him, but now that Maya hasn't gone against Claire, Peter doesn't have a plan. And the rest of the year is sort of spent between Jason and Peter, and Peter is looking for any excuse to come back to Ione, and Jason is pushing, like, you need to go to Leone, you need to keep this attack going. And like when Peter goes and talks to Katie alone in 4, he's like, do you want me back in Ionian to help against Jason? He really, really wants an excuse to come back to Ionian, but Katie isn't giving it to him, and Jason has done very well to diplomatically get Katie to do that work, I think. So Jason has a good grip of this game diplomatically right now, in my eyes. There's also a lot of chat about Maya's convoy from Norway to Denmark and forward, and everyone thinking that was a really clever move to make sure the army wasn't blown up. They're all very impressed by it. And it gives Katie a guess up in the north. They're not sure whether Katie will get to build as a result. In the end, she does get the guess correctly, and that will help her a lot more than I think if it had been 10-7 and Katie wasn't building.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. Jason Gray's been doing really well at playing this, and he has people in the West offering him support into Munich and stuff like that as well. So he's got Katie on side, he's got the West on side, he's got Peter offside, but Peter's locked. He's locked in this duel with Claire, and that's just not letting either of them get anywhere. So
yeah, basically everyone I listen to, Peter is maybe not stressed, but he just seems quite down. Katie is quite stressed. Maya has been quite stressed, what I've heard. Jason is the calm voice. Jason is the calm voice on this board. He is making deals with everyone, keeping everyone happy, and making sure he's sort of just tapping up while it's happening. So at the moment, this is Jason's board.
Yeah, definitely. No, he's doing amazing, especially from that early on position where he was, getting Peter to do things, like letting Peter do things, letting Katie do things, and all the while, yeah, exactly like you said, he's just the calm voice of reason on this board, and everyone else is stressing a little bit. So they're kicking off. So let's get back and see how 08 is going.
When Jason Gray is the calm voice of reason, this is not a diplomacy game with which I'm familiar.
I mean, I still think it's going to be hard for him to come out on top over Katie, but I mean, we'll see. But there's a chance. But I think Katie's played Russia a few times and done decently well as Russia. I have heard in the past, so I trust that Katie will find a way to keep this lead.
You sound like
Jason's keeping everyone happy. They said he's not keeping me happy. Do something, Jason. Go win it. Go on.
It's 1908. You got 3 years, right? And you're down. You're at 7 dots. Katie's at 11. You want to win this game? What dots are you going to take?
All right, Adam. Well, look, he makes his move,
and there it is. But why is he actually getting into Munich?
Munich. He got into Munich.
He is getting into Munich. Okay, so he's getting into Munich. They're getting Maya into Denmark and Norway here. Okay, so it is on, and Claire makes a bad guess around Lyon, so she gets Lyon but loses Mid-Atlantic. So Peter McNamara is happy. Okay, this game is on. We got a game for the last 3 years.
Well, could it be that it's agreed that Jason gets Munich?
Munich could be agreed, but I have a hard time believing that Galicia is.
I agree. It's just strange.
I absolutely could believe that Munich's agreed. I
think this is a stab. I think Jason's stabbing here for sure.
I do too. Galicia just does not strike me as something that would be okay, right? Now Romania is gone in the fall, right? There's no way to stop that.
Correct.
Based on, because meanwhile Peter has somehow managed to get into Mid-Atlantic.
I mean, I'm not sure what much it can do though. Or just no, I don't think
that's pretty annoying for Claire. That's pretty annoying.
It's a guess. There's a guess on Portugal and Spain.
Portugal. I mean, that's annoying as hell. I mean, I think that Claire can cover everything, but she can't because of Piedmont, I guess.
And Peter does seem to win 50-50s 100% of the time. It's a remarkable ability he has. All right, let's go to the fall, and then Wardy, you'll be up. Boo.
Either it wasn't a stab or it's a stab that he's just pulled out of.
What?
And now he's going after Peter, along with Katie. So Actor Smyrna, and Austria's into Ionian with is that 50-50 on Tunis and Naples. Maybe France will help on that. We don't know. Get support from Russia in Munich. Right. Well, okay. Cat pigeons amongst.
This is
wow.
This is Jason's on 8 now. Katie's on 9. A wonderful turn for Wild.
Why did Katie not support Baltic to Denmark? Why did Sweden hold?
Yeah, and Berlin support on Munich wasn't required either.
But why not? Why did she not support Baltic to Denmark? Was that just a mistake? You think?
No, maybe it's to get Wild to put down Fleet Liverpool, Fleet London, or something. Go after Claire. That would be the only reason that I would see that happen.
I mean, alternatively, supporting into Kiel would have worked.
Michaelis is saying it was a last-minute order change.
Yeah, but I guess we'll go to the sidelines in a second. But it does seem strange in 1908 to be gifting Wild centers in a 1910 game. All right, let's see what Wild builds. Go ahead, Brian. We can just run it. Does not get Fleet Liverpool. That can't be great news for Katie here.
No, that's not good. That's not what Katie wants to see.
This is bad for Katie. Why did Katie do this?
Is this
All right,
giving,
we're gonna go.
Is this giving flashbacks of Katie losing as Russia against Michaelis in a recent top board?
This is a rare misstep from Katie in fall of 08, but let's go to the sidelines, who I'm sure will explain everything as they're chilling their way on the top board.
Awesome. We are here for 08, and there was some pretty exciting stuff this year. I think a bit of a discussion, and I think that you noted, Michaelis, was that no one is really talking about Jason as the board threat. They're all talking about Katie. So Jason, playing this game excellently, sort of flying under the radar a bit. Hey.
Yeah, and especially in spring, it's everyone was very sort of looking at Katie, looking at Claire's growth still, and just not really considering Jason's growth. And everything in spring was sort of, let's just try some of the same. There wasn't anything sort of crazy being talked about. And then spring went through, and all of a sudden, Katie had put in some catastrophically bad orders for that turn in terms of getting Munich and Kiel both blown up, and so this just sort of blows the game open. Her and Jason talked a lot about feeling like Peter tricked them, and it like Peter gave them this order set, and they basically spend a lot of ball talking about, we think we've been tricked by Peter, that he has done this to get himself back in the game. He has given a deliberately bad order set, and I followed a lot of talk in the East round. Peter, I think he certainly agrees that it was his order set that went this wrong, and Jason eventually negotiates Katie into stabbing for Smyrna. Katie last minute also, I don't know what order she had in originally, but she said that I've just realized I can lose St. Petersburg. So she's changed her orders last minute, and I don't think it's got a full order set in the north in. So Katie is very much sort of rocked by this turn, whereas Jason is still pretty calm. He says he's moving on Peter because he thinks that Peter did this deliberately, but I guess we'll see. What did you hear in the West?
Yeah, like there was a lot of talk between Claire and Maya, just sort of figuring out tactics, what they're going to do. like sort of like you say in spring, there wasn't anything really groundbreaking, but there's concerns being expressed of Jason throwing to Katie potentially. I think we're in agreement that Jason is playing this really well and has the game if he continues to play it well. Otherwise, not a whole heap going on. I think Maya and Claire trust each other a lot, so figuring out their units that are adjacent to each other is pretty clear cut. They're not anxious about that. Whereas in the East, there's still a little bit of tension when everyone's talking about whether, who's going to move where or do what. There was a moment in spring, I think, when Peter actually made the suggestion of the moveset that unfortunately went wrong. And Katie said to Peter, "Has anyone told you that you're a really good player, Peter?" And I don't think that vibe was maintained through to the fall after the unfortunate 2-army blow up. So I think this year is coming up really good for Jason Gray. Very upward trend.
Yeah, I mean, Jason he's moved on Peter, and that's sort of the big question is what happens now? What does Peter do now? Is going to be the defining question of 1909.
Yeah, definitely. We see a couple of center trades as well. So Peter does lose Smyrna, but he gets Portugal, and he's going to have to retreat out of Western Med as well. So it's going to be a little bit messy, and I don't think Peter's position is very good at the moment. But seeing how Jason might capitalize on that, especially with him moving into the Ionian, that's nothing but good news. So we'll get back to the board and see how they're going into 08 or 09.
Puppet Master Peter.
How's that going for him, though?
It's going badly for Katie. Yeah. Bad for Katie, bad for Peter. Good for Jason. I mean, one thing the commentators are consistent about is how much they like what Jason's doing in the rooms.
Yeah.
As much as we were sort of critical of him early, I mean, he seems to have the best diplomacy, and he's got 2 years left. Let's get back to it.
I mean, that's genius. Oh, I sort of moved on you. Oh, didn't I accidentally took Munich off you and you had armies blown up? Oh, that naughty Peter. Let me go get him for you. I like that.
All right. In spring, we see Jason gets put into Kiel by Katie, which is very bold of Katie to do, considering that puts them even. We see Wild moves into Skagerrak and is starting to posture more around Sweden and Denmark. I mean, just good news for Claire, really, in terms of not having to worry about the lowlands. Elsewhere, we see Claire offers restraint around Peter and doesn't take Portugal and helps Peter block off Venice from being taken by Jason, and supports Leon de Tourney in sea instead of trying to make a move on Tunis. So it's very much looking like Claire and Peter are back on the same page, which could ironically help Claire potentially come victorious at the end of this game, which would be a massive character arc for both of them from the start of this game.
Check out Piedmont. Peter supports Claire to Piedmont.
Yeah, to help block off to help block that off. But no, I'll be very interested to see what Katie does to pip Jason at the post here.
I mean,
the tiebreaker, and Jason, Katie holds the tiebreaker. Katie holds the tiebreaker. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, Peter's got a guess now to cover Naples or Tunis. Claire can cover Tunis for him. I mean, I suppose even if she gets in, he's got to disband in Portugal there.
I think the hold here by Jason is absolutely amazing play. as well. In terms of if you move into Naples or Tunis, you just get kicked out in 4. This way, you don't necessarily. So I think that's quite good.
Yeah.
Okay. 1909, Adam, you're going to be up. I guess not. Chris, you're up.
Okay. Jason still holds, and there we go. There's France goes and takes Tunis from Italy. Whether covering it or actively trying to take it, there's it could be arranged. It could be just fighting with Spain and Portugal. So Italy down 1, France up 1. Austria picks up Kiel, and there's fighting over Denmark. No one gets anywhere, and that's all she wrote on this one.
I mean, Kiel does not support Baltic to Denmark here.
No. Interesting. Does it support Munich?
Yeah, I mean,
yes, it looks like it does.
Yeah, yeah. Only if you think Katie's going to attack it. Not much plausible deniability on that one.
I don't know. This
and
puts
Claire, look at Claire up 2 here at the end.
Yes, this will be Claire up to 7 with Spain quite easy to take back. So this is basically a Claire on 8, whilst Katie and Jason are on 9 apiece. So this final year is a three-way battle for sure.
Three-way battle.
Three-way battle with Romania basically hanging in the breeze for Jason to take. It's gonna be tight.
Nobody's anybody's friend now. Let's go see what the sideliners say.
We are here for 09, and there was a lot more chats this year, which was really nice to see. We had some people. I think I was mainly following the East in spring, and Jason and Peter were negotiating around what that fleet in Ionian is going to do. I don't think they ever really came to a sort of agreement about it, even though they vocalized it to each other. So it was just guessing what the other was going to do. Poor old Katie's really feeling it after last year, just like a little bit flat in the negotiations, but she's still giving it a go. She's still trying to find a path, which is really nice. I think Peter and Claire have had a couple of chats together that have been a little better than they have in previous terms. Coming to some sort of agreement of offering to support her into Tyrolia and stuff like that. I think that is still very much pro Peter, but they're actually able to coordinate some moves here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the spring, there was big talk between Peter and Claire about coordination for Peter to pull back. Peter wanted Claire to come to Piedmont to help him defend Venice in case Jason dived into Apulia or Adriatic and went for the guarantee on it. Claire was concerned at first in case Peter was still going to work against her, but in the end, she seems to go along with it. She doesn't actually tell Peter any of the moves she's making, and Peter then says, "Thank you for telling me all your orders," which definitely throws Claire a little bit off of her game, and seems a bit less confident after he says that. But it all went through, I think, how Peter and how Claire expected in spring. Claire and Maya also talk in spring a lot. They're very much on the same page of if one of them can win, the other is not going to stand in their way and maybe it'll help them. But at this stage, Maya and Katie just don't seem to be able to get on the same page about Maya looking at French dots to win the game. And so I think Maya is sort of resigned to being the more junior in the position, despite potentially having the better position come spring.
Yeah, definitely. There was a chat between Maya and Claire where Claire's talking about a path to a win and whether Maya would throw her something to make the difference in the end. And Maya was saying that they're really happy that Claire still has a chance to win this, and there didn't seem to be much thought of her own win. So a little bit disappointing considering Maya's position is not actually that bad, and Claire's is fairly messy down in the south with what Peter's doing. But it's interesting to see it. But I think Jason, I didn't catch many of his chats, but the odd couple I did, he still seems to be keeping cool, calm, and collected when he's talking to everyone. And I think he's still going on that upward trend.
Yeah, I mean, in full, at the start of the phase, Maya grabs Katie proactively and talks to her and seems to convince Katie into going for Keel, saying that this is the way to stop Jason winning. You have to go for it now. I will not do anything hostile in Scandinavia, and I will let you do that. I'd rather... Maya basically graded it, saying she wants Claire to win, and if not Claire, then Katie, but definitely not Jason. And Katie seems to buy this, but Jason later on grabs her and really talks Katie out of all of it, and does a really good soothing job, saying he points out that she needs to go to Moscow to help defend St. Petersburg, and she thinks that's a huge ask, and he manages to convince her into it first, saying we can do this to bounce in Gao, and I'll just trust that you're not going to Bull. And then even going, oh, actually, I need to put the build down. I won't move to Gal. I'll trust you entirely. I'll move to Bohemia, and doing everything he can to keep Katie on side. And it basically works. The one thing Jason doesn't do is at the end of the turn is quite get on the same page with Peter. Peter has asked Jason to move to Tunis, saying he's offered it to Claire, and the only way Claire doesn't get it is if you bounce it out. And they don't agree on doing that after Jason thinks that Peter tried to trick him in spring, telling him to go to Tunis while Peter went for Ionian. And so Jason just doesn't have the trust in fall. But he does convince Peter to do a sneaky little move to try and make a hold on Iberia and not lose everything to Claire there. So Peter is sort of just playing a bit of a cheeky disruptor at this stage of the game. He knows he can't win, but he just seems to be enjoying winding people up a little bit in terms of, yeah, you're going to do that, and I'm going to count them. And he's really getting in people's heads, I think. And so Peter is definitely making his own fun on this board at this stage. But yeah, Katie in fall did seem to have a little bit of an uplift. She was very down in spring, but in fall, I think that she sort of, come the end of it, had reawoken to the chance that she might win this still. But it is very much Jason in the diplomatic driving seat still.
Yeah, that's it. He's playing really well. And the couple of chats I caught with him talking to Katie, he was even saying things like he's talking equally. He's like, you have a shot to win this. I have a shot to win this. Let's work together. And I just want it to be one of us. There's no asking for anything or stuff like that. It's what can we do here? What can I do for you? I'm going to do this. I'm going to trust you. And he's just playing it really well.
All right. This will be our second to last sideline. We'll be back in spring of 1910 and let the broadcast take it home.
Chris, what did we learn from sideline?
Exciting. Really impressed with the way that Jason's doing it. I take everything back that I said. He was frustrating me earlier. He's in a brilliant position and seemingly doing enough with Katie diplomatically, even though they're in a fight together with this. We'll see who comes out on top.
All right, we'll go through to spring. Chris, tell us what happens.
We have some armies go down. And Claire's trying to put some pressure on Munich. Don't think that's going to work. Maybe just plugging a gap. More bouncing in Denmark. And Jason trying to unwanted support into Turanian, but there was no bounce. So a whole lot of nothing much. Vienna doesn't go into Galicia or anything like that. I don't know, guys. This is nothing much moves.
I think based off everything here, Katie will win on tiebreak.
No. Jason has the tiebreaker.
No, he doesn't.
Austria picked ahead of Russia.
No, right.
Austria picked ahead of Russia. Katie picked
correct.
fifth.
So Katie has the tiebreaker.
Katie has tiebreak.
Oh,
the
Katie has
only
tiebreak.
way
Sorry.
Jason can stop, can win this, I think, is if he either gets supported by Peter into Tunis, or Peter thinks that Jason will support him into Tunis, and then he takes Naples instead.
Is there anything you could do on Berlin here?
He can take Berlin. He could take Berlin.
No,
I mean,
he
he's putting
can't.
Munich
He
at
can't
risk.
because Katie just holds Berlin.
But Bohemia cuts
with
Silesia,
Baltic.
Munich, and
With
Kiel.
Baltic.
Munich and Kiel go for. Yeah, if that's what you're right. If she does that, why did
And
Jason
this is predicated on Katie winning on 9 centers and Jason not going up to 10.
Is there a reason Jason didn't position his units around Romania to do something? It just requires too many units because he has to.
I think it's just a mistake not moving Vienna to Gau. I think. Oh, I mean, I guess it's because if he takes Romania retreats to Bulgaria.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying he's got too many units. He's got to pull Trieste to Serbia, which means he's got to go Tyrolia to Trieste to cover from Peter. So it gets really complicated.
I mean, yeah, I think it's just. I think Katie has just about done enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, go ahead, Chris.
I'm just looking at what else is there. I mean, like, am I right in saying that Claire is too far away? She'll get Spain. I think that's it, isn't it? So, is there a chance that she chooses?
Well, she needs 3.
Russia.
She needs 3, even if she can
Yeah,
get a
she needs
second die.
3.
How did she get a? How did she
So,
get?
I mean, she could help Jason take Venice, for instance.
I mean, Maya can convoy her into London if we're talking about crazy things happening.
Yeah.
Can she get 3? She can get Spain. Maya convoys her to London. What's her third?
Well, I guess it's predicated on other people taking away stuff. We do have a sideline report
from Spring.
All right, everyone, we're here for our final sideline, spring 1910, and yeah, there was a lot of chats. I think in the East, I only caught them for a little bit. Jason was talking to Katie as like equal partners. You know, they both have a shot at going for it and possibly winning. In the West, there was more talk of potentially throws to try and get the win, but yeah, I think Katie's feeling like she's back in it and has a bit of a grip on the game. Yeah, how did your observations go, Michaelis?
Yeah, I mean, I think Katie recognised that Jason has the best tactical position on this board, but Katie did something that I've not seen her do before, and she just rested the entire game on a throw threat. She said that if Jason moves on her in any way whatsoever, Claire will get Kiel, Claire will get Munich, and Claire will win the game. And whether this threat is empty or not, earlier in the game, Claire did actually say Katie loves to throw, which is not something I've seen before, but maybe Katie's establishing a new meta before Dipcon. But either way, Katie just does the job perfectly. She says, Jason, if you move anything, if you move to Serbia, if you move to Galicia, if you move anything in my direction, I will throw both of those German dots to Claire. And Jason buys it. He seems to sort of just wind down into a pat where he can't win, and he moves on and starts talking to Peter. And there's a big meaty conversation here. I think Jason is trying to craft an opening to win by taking Peter's dots. So they first talk about doing stuff on Tunis, getting Peter to come out to Tyrrhenian Sea. Then there's talk actually about blowing Piedmont up. It doesn't do that. And Peter has considered moving to Marseille, considered moving to Mid-Atlantic. In the end, there isn't really any agreement. Quite late on, Jason asks him to come to Western Med to guarantee Tunis, and then Peter says that's a bit too late. So yeah, it looks like Peter is not really trying to throw to anyone. And Jason, he might have a chance of snagging Naples, snagging Venice. I think it's unlikely. But I think that this has come down to a diplomatic play by Katie to make the threat, and if she wins this game, it will be on the back of that.
Yeah, fair. And you know, I think in this position, if that's what it takes to get you there, that's completely fair play. Like that's
100%.
And especially if Katie's potentially catching wind of the discussions in the West, where Claire is actively asking Maya if Maya will give them dots in the end. Yeah, like, you know, they're both keeping their chats friendly in the West. Claire and Maya have enjoyed playing the game together. And Claire still sees a path towards her top, and she's asking for that. And Maya, who has been in a good position for a lot of the game, just unfortunately seems to be happy with their position and not necessarily going for a top. So that's a little bit sad because they still have a path to victory. But we're coming down to the final move of the game. One quote from Peter in spring was, "One day I will play a good game of diplomacy again." So I think he's feeling a bit locked after this game, and we'd love to see a good Peter game again. But this one has been pretty tight. So
yeah, there was a lot of talk in the East about whether Maya would make the aggressive throw or whether Claire would move up to Irish. There'd be like a convoy to Edinburgh, anything like that. And it doesn't seem to have happened. It seems like Maya was like okay with Claire winning by maybe taking one dot, but she didn't want a king make entirely in Claire's favor.
Yeah, definitely. And the only way it could have really happened was if Claire had have moved that Mao fleet north. But I think Claire got the vibe from Maya that it wasn't going to happen unless it was, like you say, that 1 or 2 dot situation. And yeah, it just wasn't that. So yeah.
All right, we'll hand it back to the studio to see it home.
Katie Gray, a throw threat? Who do you think you are, Michalis Camaritis? What is this? This is new style from Katie. It might serve her well, though.
I don't even think she needed to. I don't think she actually would have lost, even if Jason had moved on Galicia because of the retreat to Bulgaria, or Smyrna just gets into con. I mean, I understand not seeing the tactic when you're like so hyper tense in the final like year of the game, but I actually think that tactically you have the win there, because even if Jason moves Tyrolia back to Trieste into Serbia and everything, then I think you have a guarantee on Munich as well.
Yeah, but you know, like I hear you, but like that move to Galicia puts a lot of problems there, right? I mean, Silesia can get cut.
Too.
Warsaw, Romania. It's not just Romania, Bulgaria.
Moscow taps Warsaw. I mean, I guess there's the Bohemia thing there, so you would take Kiel instead of Munich. But
it was totally legitimate for Katie to make that threat.
Yeah,
On the other hand, if I'm Jason,
it's not legitimate.
If I'm Jason, I probably don't care, because I'd be like, hey, I helped you all game, everything, you know, like all game. I'm going to try and win. If you throw to Claire, you throw to Claire, and we'll see. But I mean, Jason's got to pull a rabbit out of a hat now. Will he do it? Anyone predict anyone other than Katie? Let's see.
No, Katie wins. Just. Well played. Well played to Katie. So if we want to go through the moves, basically, Katie support holds Kiel to make sure that Claire cannot take Kiel. Claire does take Spain. Peter covers Naples, which is the right thing to do. Support holds Venice, which again, right thing to do. And Katie just support holds Sweden and supports St. Pete, and there's an exchange of Ankara and Con. Michalis does correctly point out the way Jason wins this, I think, just outright, is if he had brought the fleet into Aegean, and he has a guarantee on Smyrna. So I think that's the miss. I think Jason wins.
He would have lost Kiel, though. He only kept Kiel here because Berlin supported it.
Yeah.
That's true. No, that's true. That's true. But yes, well done to Katie. I think managing to calm down after the falter in towards the end game there. calm down, reevaluate, look at the position, correctly make the right diplomatic reads, and comes through with the win at the end. There is in a highly pressurized situation is really well done. A thoroughly deserving winner, dominated from the go pretty much, and manages to pull it home. So I think this is a well-deserved win by Katie, and I think means that Summer Classic has been, if Ed was right about the past winners, remains as a women-only tournament so far in terms of winners. So that's another cool stat.
All right, let's welcome to the stream Katie Gray. Congratulations, 2-time Summer Classic winner. After your first Summer Classic, I penned an article for you in Champions Corner called "Me and My Diplomacy Friends."
Yeah, I remember it. I remember that article.
And this is you and your diplomacy friends again. You were friends with everybody. Tell us how you did it.
Can I start with correcting a narrative? I think leave it to McCullough to twist the truth to fit exactly what he wants to say. I do not think I was threatening to throw that hard to Jason. I'd like to actually hear Jason's take on it, but I don't think I was like, I'm putting Claire in. I think I was just like, well, I'm not supporting Kiel. You'll lose Kiel. You might lose Munich. Like, you know, if he's moving on me, I'm not going to defend his centers, right? So I don't think it was explicitly like, I'm going to give Claire the win. But yeah, I was like, if you come towards me, then I'm not going to support you. So I think it was more just that.
That's fair.
Katie, it started with you getting Russia. I mean, that's like giving Superman, you know, more advantages than Superman already has. It's like taking away kryptonite. Were you surprised to get that?
Yeah, I was very surprised. I think everyone was surprised by Steven's pick. And then by the time it got to Jason picking, I was like so nervous, just hoping he would pick something else. And I was pretty surprised, and I was really thrilled. It was great. I was excited, for sure.
Anyone can ask Katie any questions, but I will tell you that more than a few comments have been on the stream about what a challenging personality on the day Jason Gray can be. And your half-brother, Jason Gray, you did great with him. You did fantastic. Tell us about that relationship and how you did it so others can learn.
I mean, I think Jason and I saw the board pretty similarly from the beginning of the game. Everyone in the East thought that there was a very good chance there would be a Western triple early in the game. I don't think I realized until after the game was over how much work Jason put into getting Peter to go West, which I think was really crucial. So I think Jason did a great job with that. But for the first 5 years of the game or so, I mean, I was worried about England and Germany, and it looked pretty triple-y to me, no matter what was happening with Claire, because I was just facing at least an EG, right? And I think there was never any point where, if that's the board state and the dynamic, like, I'm not going to fight Austria. Austria's not going to fight me. I think it was just, it just made sense given the way that we were reading it. And I mean, Jason and I get along. Like, I don't always understand what he does in diplomacy, but that's true of everybody, right? But he and I get along pretty well. So it didn't really feel, it didn't feel hard. It felt pretty easy to work with him.
My other question before we head to our analysts is, it is rare in the end game to see you struggle. I've seen you struggle in the beginning. I've seen you struggle in the mid game, but you were on a glide path. I mean, just an absolute glide path until 1908 crashes in on you, and people can lose their heart. You did not. Talk to us about how that happened and how you overcame it.
I lost it for a second when so Peter did suggest the move of putting Jason into Munich, and it sort of made sense to have his units have him get some sort of conflict with Claire, and then when it went so catastrophically wrong and both units were blown up, I sort of stopped thinking, and that was made that mistake with Denmark in the fall and just sort of imploded a little bit. And I was pretty much like, well, that's okay. Had a good run, but you're a big Russia, you're going to have to fall, and that's it. That's my game. And actually, the next year, I think pretty early on, Jason mentioned that I had the tiebreaker over him, and it was actually him saying that made me realize, like, oh, you're right, we don't have to get anything back. And in fact, I can put Jason into Kiel and keep him in Munich, so that way, if there's sort of tension at the end of the game, he's the one who needs support to stay on those two centers, sort of on the line. And so, Peter really did me a solid by bringing up that idea, even though it went so wrong at the time. And I think Jason really seemed to think that Peter had tricked us. He really thought that Peter put us up to that. And I don't know whether I agreed or not, but I wasn't really fighting it because I was pretty just like shut down for a year, to be honest. But that was really lucky. That was really lucky for me because he went to Galicia to be like, oh, we're at 7 and 11 and I need some say in this alliance. Like I need to have some sort of power. And then immediately I had I didn't have the advantage I had. And so he was willing to walk out and continue making things work. So there was a lot of luck in that turn, even though it all went so poorly.
Anybody else got questions for our champion, our two-time champion?
Yeah, Katie, I have a question because you are a great diplomat, as has been proven once again here. Help a mere mortal out here. How did you negotiate yourself into having 10 of the 21 centers that the Air had at that point? How did you get into such a position where you're 4 points ahead of the next alliance partner?
I think part of it was Jason's willingness to be patient, right? Because when he convoys me into Con, I'm out of Romania. He takes back Vienna, and I think I was in Munich or something. But like, I don't have any threat on him, and I have open centers next to him, so he can certainly take them whenever he wants. He doesn't have to do it immediately, right? He can be patient. He can wait until something goes horribly in the north, and then say, "Okay, well, you're not going to win this game. Give me a chance." I think a lot of it was his patience. And I think a lot of it was that, Germany and England did fight a lot. They were not an EG from the game, but there was a lot of uncertainty about when they were going to work together and sort of rejoin. Whereas Peter was able to his couple of fleets and Claire's couple of fleets were sort of stagnant. So there was an argument to be made for me to have more centers. The turn when I gave Peter Con, I think, there was some turn when I had a build in pocket, and I was like, I just need to not go down one so that I can build a fleet south coast. Like, I need some strength in the north, and I think it was a good argument. And I don't think I was like full of it. I think it was helpful for the alliance structure because what it's really doing is it's getting all of my units away from Jason, and it's getting me to fight other people. And he had a great position at the end of the game, and if he was a little more bloodthirsty, he could have come out on top too. So I think a lot of it was his patience.
And Katie, to what extent were you managing the West, or did you even have time to do that? Because I'm sure you were frantically negotiating a lot in the East. Because it seemed like there were some pretty complicated things going on around Scandinavia for a lot of the mid game, and it just wasn't clear. Like, were you able to kind of influence that, or was it just EG just kind of being a mess kind of made it easier for you?
No, I didn't talk to Germany as much as I could have or should have, maybe. We didn't communicate very much. But Maya and I spoke almost every turn. We messaged a lot. England and I we spoke a lot. And I really, really like playing with Maya, with Wild. I really respect the way that she plays. I played a couple of games with her in the preliminary rounds. And I know she's reasonable. And I know she's going to do things that make sense and that are benefiting her. And, I could tell she didn't really want to be working with a Germany who was not committing to her. As soon as Germany takes north, Maya's like, well, Germany's flip-flopping. And I said, I won't flip-flop. Like, I will take her out with you. Like, I will be on your side. And, there were a couple times where I had to, sometimes when you're Russia, you have to do a little bit of begging, honestly. And I did. I begged Maya more than once. I was like, if you destroy my fleet in Sweden, I will never be able to play in the north, which might be good for you, and it might not be, because I will never be able to help you get German dots. And I think I probably came off as more reliable than someone who was taking North Sea from her. And so I think she and I, we just communicated well. And one of the things I think I did really poorly is not following up on some of that. We would have a turn where she and I would work together, like the turn she took Denmark. And then the next turn, it's the Western triple powers talking again for 10 minutes or something. And I really should have stepped in a lot earlier and just been like, hey, I need to talk to Maya. Like, I should have pulled her out of that and solidified that relationship. And I think I failed to do that in a couple situations. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is I did my best to influence it, and I could have done better. That relationship could have definitely been stronger and might have, obviously I'm happy with how the game ended, but it might have put me in a stronger position where I wasn't relying diplomatically so much on Jason as I was at the end of the game.
Ed's muted.
I was just saying, go ahead, Darcy.
Oh, okay. My questions are based around the vibes and stuff between the Mediterranean conflict that seemed to be a standstill. How much did that really dictate the diplomacy and the overall conversation on the board? Because it seemed that a lot of the board was centered around Peter and Claire and how they viewed things. How long did that help you, and what was the overall vibe?
I think it did help me in a lot of ways. I think, Peter being a strong force saying there's a Western triple and I have to go west helps me make my pitch to Austria that I have to fight EG. And Peter kept Claire from being able to join in on Germany early or join in on England early. And so he really limited her abilities, which, a lot of times as Russia, you want to see a strong France. So in some ways it was limiting because France wasn't helping me in the north and then Peter wasn't helping me in the south. We talked a lot about wintergreening, especially in the middle, but I don't think there was ever a point where we were actually in any position to fight Jason together because he was so committed to lining up his fleets against the West. So I think it just, I think you're right. It just stagnated it a little bit and stagnated the two of them. And it kind of gave me some space to just think about what was happening immediately around me, which you can't always do. So that was kind of nice. So I think it did help me in a lot of ways. And I wasn't relying on either of them for growth at any point. So I think that was really clutch. Because if I had been relying on them, then it would have been pretty devastating to be like, well, neither of you are being useful for me, right? But I think it was a benefit.
I think it's worth noting that this is the first top board I remember, at least in DBN history, where the majority of players were female. Katie, women in diplomacy are small by percentage, but they outkick their coverage a lot in terms of percentage wins. And you, Tanya, are at the top of the list in terms of just racking up victories. But I think this is really great for the hobby too. And it was also great that, there was an attempt at a girl power alliance. It was like, no, we're just going to fight, or whatever, and I think that's awesome. Right. And that the woman ends up, winning, I don't know.
I think it's great. I love to see more women, more diversity in general in the hobby. Obviously, I'm a big proponent of that. I will say I don't think anyone talked about it. I never heard any. Right. I heard at one point England, Maya said, "Let's get some Winsy in the game," which I heard somebody say somebody repeated something similar in the sidelines. But there was never any talk of oh, the women are going to work together. It was oh, it's a Western triple, and it wasn't because they're women. It was just because that's how these players play, or because it's a Western triple and there's an Australian involved. No offense, Darcy. But yeah, I think it was really cool. It didn't seem to be it was never a point of discussion, which it shouldn't be. So that was great.
So congratulations on your win as Russia, your second win on Summer Classic as Russia. Note to players, don't let Katie play Russia in Summer Classic. Thank you for the entertaining game. Sorry for the technical hitches on the stream. I'd like to thank our analysts, Wardy, Darcy, and Adam, who went through a ton, particularly with technical difficulties. Our sideline reporters of McAllis, Karthik, for some strange reason, and Brandon Austin for running the Paris method and running the sidelines. most of all, thanks to Brian Pravel, who had his day off with his family. And when Dipcast goes down, the man steps in to make sure that this broadcast gets going for the players and for all of our viewers. So thank you to everybody. And we will hopefully see you guys on the next stream. Darcy, you want to take us out?
Yep. Stay safe and stab well.
Thank you.